We've paid for that bridge and we're going to collect.
We're going to fly 35,000 men 300 miles and drop them behind enemy lines. It'll be the largest airborne operation ever mounted. Quite frankly, this kind of thing's never been attempted before. We shall seize the bridges, it's all a question of bridges, with thunderclap surprise, and hold them until they can be secured. And we go next Sunday.
7 days.
The sooner we go, the better. We've got them on the run.
The story of the most dramatic and devastating battle of...
The plan is called Operation Market Garden. Market is the airborne element, and Garden the ground forces. I like to think of this as one of those American Western films. Germans, well, naturally, they're the bad guys. We, my friends, are the cavalry on the way to the rescue.
A Bridge Too Far. Starring Dirk Bogarde, James Caan, Michael Caine, Sean Connery, Edward Fox, Elliot Gould, Gene Hackman, Anthony Hopkins, Hardy Kruger, Laurence Olivier, Ryan O'Neill, Robert Redford, Maximilian Schell, Liv Ullmann.
Take cover!
Don't you think that since we know that Arnhem is so crucial to their safety, they might know that too?
The river's wide and that the current is strong. Hail Mary, full of grace. And as any more cheery information comes my way, I'll just be too happy to pass it along. In the meantime, just think of this as on-the-job training. They're 36 hours behind schedule.
There's a battle, and we are in the process of winning it.
Winning and losing is not a concern. Living or dying is.
Colonel, if you don't look at him right now, he's going to die.
Dead now.
Right now.
I can give him a quick examination if you like.
Thank you very much, sir.
We need reinforcements and, above all, ammunition.
Till the general are coming. They're coming tonight.
2 days, they said. We've been here 9.
Why didn't we just try to bash through?
Well, as you'll know, I've always thought that we tried to go a bridge too far.
Hello, on this 80th anniversary of Operation Market Garden, one of the biggest airborne assaults of the Second World War. Not the biggest, but certainly the most ambitious. And it was launched 80 years ago today. 35,000 men flying in God knows how many aircraft heading over to Holland in a desperate attempt to try and end the war before Christmas, by putting our forces over the Rhine and into the industrial heart of Germany. It was depicted in the film A Bridge Too Far, which has been much discussed on this channel. There is a Chew the Fat episode on it if you want to check that out in the listings. We've also done a watch party on it. So we won't be going into it in immense detail, but we will be talking about that and other movies which have touched on the subject of Operation Market Garden today, as well as TV shows and documentaries and things of this nature. But before we do all of that, there's just a couple of people I in particular want to congratulate on behalf of myself and the panel for their Emmy wins. So, as you know, we reviewed Shogun when it was playing, and we were very enthusiastic about that show. We all thought it was very, very good. A little bit disappointed in the ending, but overall we were really happy about it. And we were talking about Emmy nominations when we were doing that show, which we reviewed episode by episode each week. It's under the playlists of Chew the Fat, I believe. And we were saying that the lead actress should definitely be nominated for an Emmy, if not win. Well, I'm pleased to report that Anna Sawai did win for Shogun. Are we happy about that, panel?
Yeah. You
She
bet.
did very well in it.
Yeah, she was exceptionally good.
Yeah.
I thought fantastic performance. Not only did she, there's Michaela Cole, another fantastic actress. Not only did she get Best Actress in a Drama Series, but Hiroki Sanada got Best Actor, and he was absolutely awesome in the show as well. So, historical show, which is always my favourite type of stuff. I'm really pleased to see that they got the nominations that they deserved, and they did deserve them. This is definitely not any kind of tokenism or box ticking. They absolutely deserved those wins. Absolutely, 100%. Yeah. So, and I think we're getting a season 2 of Shogun, I believe.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to really stray from the book then, aren't they?
Well, I mean, it's going to cover his life after the book ends. I mean, I'm hoping that we're going to get the big battle that we were kind of cheated out of at the end of the season, because I really did want to see that. I'm guessing they didn't quite have the money, but yeah. So Enzo is listening to the show whilst getting his teeth scraped. Dentist. He may join us later if he gets back in time. Snorter Poopus, the man with the most entertaining name on the internet, is also here. Good to see you, buddy. Keith E is here. We've got Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington, definitely a contender for top 5 fantastic names in chat. And there are a few other people watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I am now 148 subs away from 4,000.
Nice.
So we're getting there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, I was quite pleased. Well, we're going to talk first about, we might cover some other topics as well, but we're going to talk first about market garden related stuff. And there's a little clip that I want to show here. Let me, this is from the 1946 film, Theirs is the Glory, which is the first movie that was ever made on this subject. I didn't even know this movie existed until I think the 1990s. So I saw it very belatedly. I saw it well after I'd seen Bridge Too Far. It was shot primarily by a documentary filmmaking unit with mostly non-actors, including several people coming back to the Battle of Arnhem to actually play themselves. So, I mean, the dialogue is very stilted, as you would expect. This is not De Niro and Pacino.
I think in terms of visual accuracy, you will never find anything better.
It is extremely accurate. So we'll just play a little clip here.
500 yards west of the bridge. The 1st and 3rd battalions should be into the town by now, on the roads to the north of us. The brigadiers with them. Where? Hanbury is about here, just short of the ramp, going for the north end of the bridge.
Hello, George 1. Hello, George 1. I'm going to attack now. I'm going into the attack now. We'll report at south end of the bridge. Out. Sigler, headset. Hello, George 1. Hello, George 1. Heavy fire from pillbox and armor south of river. Cannot...
So, just to give people an idea, apart from the fact that there's a couple of people that were actually there reenacting their roles effectively, that was filmed on the ramparts of the actual Arnhem Bridge, which at that time had not been rebuilt, which is why you've got no shots looking towards the bridge. The shot of the bridge that you had in that sequence is actually painted on a backdrop. So it's painted on glass and sort of shot around miniatures in a studio. And then, but the ruins of the town that you see, this is actually Arnhem. So in the shots, for example, behind the guys here, you can see beyond the smoke there, all of those buildings are ruined. None of them have got any roofs on or anything. That's because when they shot this in Arnhem, it was exactly like it was after the battle. It had not been rebuilt in any way, shape or form. So it was in a terrible state. So the benefit that this film has is it has this kind of really strong layer of authenticity. It's not really to be viewed as a dramatic motion picture, because that's not what it is. It's
would you say just
go on?
I mean, it kind of has this sort of War Office information film feel about it.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, and I mean, I think at the time there was quite a few films sort of like this that did sort of a retelling of something to do with World War II made by this unit. I'd be interested to know what other films that they have done. I haven't actually researched it. It's available free to watch on YouTube. I think we could probably play as much of it as we want because it's well out of copyright.
Oh, right.
1946, but I'm sure I'll get flagged anyway. I do actually own it on DVD, and my version of it came with a piece of metal from an original glider from Arnhem.
Wow.
Special anniversary edition. And that piece of metal is in a box in the shed somewhere. But yeah, so so that's so this is Theirs is the Glory, which basically tells just the Battle of Arnhem, not the rest of Market Garden. That's your bridge painted on glass, basically.
But you can still probably tell there was a lot of passion into trying to get this made, though, because you can see its heart's in the right place as well.
Absolutely right, yeah.
Hello to the lovely Shelley and Kimberly Ann Hart. Great that we've got some women here, even though we're talking about war stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think what amazed me when I found out about this film was that so many of the veterans were like up for going back. Basically, you know, portraying what they went through. I mean, that's one of the actual buildings. I think that's the White House, which was either next to or part of Frost's headquarters. I mean, you can see all the bullet holes in it. It's you know, it's in a real state.
Yeah,
that is one of the main churches in Arnhem, completely burnt out. So what this sort of lacks in, I suppose, traditional film performances, it makes up for in terms of, you know, you're seeing it exactly as it was. It's also all of the footage that was shot at Arnhem by the film unit that went with them, the AIP unit that went with them, is also cut into this movie. So I think that's a real shot of an actual guy with a Bren gun during the battle. And a lot of you will have seen quite a few of those shots on various documentaries. So yeah, it is. If you haven't seen it and you've got an interest in the subject, you absolutely do need to watch it. But you've got to treat it as a kind of almost like a documentary reenactment movie with some actual footage of the battle edited into the stuff they've recreated. It's not a traditional feature film, even though it's been marketed as one, because, you know, people like to sell DVDs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this footage as well was filmed in the real hospital. That's the actual staircase. It's now converted into a load of flats. That mosaic floor, I think, is still there. Yeah, so that's the main staircase in that hospital, which is now a big block of flats and was used by both sides during the battle. So I think this is Frost's.
General Urquhart's on the set.
Yeah, this is Frost's headquarters in the roof of one of the buildings. You can see the wreck of the church through the window. Still hasn't been rebuilt. So they probably shot this in an actual real damaged roof on location, because it was all filmed on location. I don't think, apart from the scenes in the UK, none of it was shot there apart from that. Have you heard of this before, Luke?
No, not until today, and I might check it out later. I kind of have a soft spot for the old war films when like the older the better, because especially because this was a year after the war.
Yeah, I mean, they went back for the anniversary, actually. And the film unit and the para veterans who went with them were extremely nervous about going back to film this, because it had such a high cost on the city, and the death toll of civilians during the battle was not only extreme during the fighting, but after the battle was over and the Germans had won. The Dutch people all around the area were forcibly moved out. And if they didn't move out, they were shot. A lot of them were shot. And then there was one of the harshest winters, the winter of 44. So I think about 3,000 people starved to death on top of the ones. And, these are all civilians we're talking about. So knowing all of that, going back there, they were thinking the Dutch people are not going to want to see us. We're going to go in, film this thing and get out really quickly. And they could not have been more welcoming. And it was that surprise and recognition from the people for what they had done and tried to do to basically liberate them that, stayed with the veterans and meant they were welcome back any time. And so the bond between the people of Arnhem and the British veterans and the relevant associations are really strong to this very day. British trying to break through the bridge, fighting under the bridge. They had a number of German tanks in here. Actually from the war. In the they were able to get them working. So because they were wrecks left near the battle, basically, they got them working, put them in the film. So pretty incredible when you think about it, because there's hardly any working Panthers today. Be hard pushed to get one today.
Yeah. But what an incredible piece of reference material this movie is, if anybody wants to make anything of this battle. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much every shot. You have all of your scenery, you have, all of the architecture, the lay of the land, everything, the whole sort of geography of the area. It's just a fantastic piece of reference. So it's not just, you wouldn't be referencing just another war movie. You'd be referencing the actual, the true place.
I think that's I might be wrong, but I think that's Major Kane, who he might be somebody portraying him, but I believe he took part, and I can't be 100%. I'll check the IMDb in a second, but he's the guy who he went hunting tanks with a Piat, and he accounted for like 4, something like that. And I mean, the Piat's not exactly the best anti-tank weapon in the world, cumbersome thing. And he basically went tank hunting with it, and he got a Victoria Cross for that.
There was actually a real veteran on there as well called Hugh Ashmore, who auditioned for the film because he did have ambitions to become an actor after the war.
Right.
And apparently they found out he was no good because he froze as soon as the cameras rolled.
That's an interesting. Hugh Ashmore played Lieutenant Hanbury, uncredited. So the people that played themselves that came back in the film was Richard Lonsdale, who formed Lonsdale Force and did that very famous speech in the church to rally the men in Osterbeek in John Frost played himself. Freddie Goff, who was in charge of the Jeep Squadron. Kate Tehost, so the real Kate Tehost is in this. And so is the war correspondent, Alan Wood. So there's and Stanley Maxted, who's a war correspondent that both flew in with the force. So you got about 9 people that went back, but I think there's probably a lot of uncredited veterans who went along as well.
Yeah.
That's my understanding. To just play the general soldiers and so forth. Bush McFadden's in the chat. Good to see you, buddy.
Hey, man.
Let's just have a look at a couple of other quick bits. I mean, I'm playing short clips just in case, but you know. So this is the real church at Oosterbeek. If you go there now, I mean, obviously it's been restored a long time ago, but you can still see where the new section of the church has been added because the bricks don't quite match. And there's all kinds of memorial plaques and things around it. But this formed one part of the perimeter down near the river where the British were holding out. Kate Tehost's house was a stone's throw from this, as portrayed in the film A Bridge Too Far. I think this is the scene with Lonsdale.
Around the houses on the south side of the perimeter. On this position, we must stand or fall.
Yeah. So this is the real Richard Lonsdale speaking.
This edge of the perimeter is
and he had been wounded like about 3 times when he did this speech.
The 1st Battalion,
and the men were really demoralised. The 11th Battalion, you know, made everybody stand and fight.
South Staffordshire Regiment.
Apparently, he recreated the speech because he got most of the words he actually said as well.
Yeah, and I mean, that's shot in the actual church. You know, it was still in exactly the same state. So they just went back and. Now, this footage here would have been real footage shot by the war correspondent.
A few are even dropping in the ground. All those beautiful forests.
Yeah. There we go, Huntington Road. As the consistent and get the German. Some of this footage is probably some of the stuff
shot just pouring incendiary up at those aircraft up there. The sky sizzling and sparkling like sparklers at a firework display, but they just fly right on into it, straight and level.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so technically this was, well, not technically, this was the first film about Market Garden. This bit, I think, is also filmed in the actual grounds.
The perimeter defenses hold firm in spite of continuous shelling and mortaring. The most murderous concentrated fire I've seen in 2 wars.
It's a fantastic museum.
A shortage of food, ammunition, and sleep, coupled with incessant sniping, is beginning to tell.
Yeah, so I think the British have been probably fighting for about 8 days by this point. So yeah, it's as I said, it's really worth seeing. It was kind of weird watching it in. I think I probably saw it around something like 1997, I think. And I saw it on a VHS, and somebody lent it to me, you know, because they heard I hadn't seen it, and it was quite weird, sort of watching it in the 90s with this very monotone style delivery of dialogue from basically a non-actor cast and one actor who froze, according to Northern. Now there's the real Kate Tehost. So let's have a quick look at her. What an incredible woman. This woman needs a movie made about her.
Shall I?
A movie, they should call it The Angel of Arnhem. And she basically...
He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty.
Hands while they died.
Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night,
comforting them,
nor for the arrow that flieth
for her to
by
go
day,
back and recreate that, kind of incredible.
Nor for the pestilence that walketh in darkness.
And it's so sad because her family was dogged with tragedy. I think 1 or 2 of her children were killed just after the war when they jumped out of a tree house and they landed on a landmine in the garden.
Oh, good God!
Yeah, that hadn't been discovered, and then she herself, she lived to a ripe old age. She was really fit and healthy, but she was killed by a Dutch police car that was pursuing a thief. Came round the corner and knocked her over.
Jesus.
It's almost like if you were to do a film about her and you think of Lawrence of Arabia, that's the scene you would start with, isn't it? You'd start with the accident and you'd go back in time and you'd tell her story from before the war going forwards to the crucial role she played in Arnhem. I do have the book from her family called The Angel of Arnhem. It's basically her diary. It's her account. And I mean, it would make a good, very grim, but it would be a really powerful film if somebody took it on. I'm having enough trouble raising money for the films I'm trying to get made at the moment, so don't ask me to do it, please. But I'd write the script for it if somebody had the money, because I could easily write the script. And and then I think this film ends with this lad. It's a very powerful image. Spoilers for anyone watching. He goes back to the barracks in the UK with his mate, and it's like, he's the only one in the room. All the beds are empty. He's the only one that made it home. Or him and his mate, and all the other beds.
Private Tommy Scullion of Ballymena, County Antrim.
Their manner of passing shall be carried like a...
So, anyway, Theirs Is the Glory is available to watch on YouTube. It's completely free, so check it out. But after this stream, of course, not before. What you cooking for dinner, says Daryl. I've just had a yogurt, mate. It's a very complex cooking operation. I removed it from the fridge and I consumed it. Welcome to Critical. Good to have you on, mate.
Evening. Apologies for my tardiness. I just got back from the cinema.
No, that's all right. I know it was a last minute thing. You went to the cinema. What did you go and see?
Batman Begins. Mrs. has never seen it.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because it's on re-release, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, they're doing the whole Dark Knight trilogy.
All right, nice. Did she like it?
Yeah, she did like it. Apparently, she's never seen Dark Knight either, because she doesn't remember Heath Ledger as the Joker. So I failed as a partner at some point.
Did you both?
I could have sworn I've trained these films, but maybe not.
Did you both get through the film without needing a toilet break?
I did, yeah. I despite my middle age, my bladder is in fine shape, so I'm one of these people who doesn't have to take a break.
Do you know, we went to see that Batman film, the one with the really terrible punch up at the end, where all the policemen charge into machine guns. I think.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah, and we were knackered before we went in, so I made the mistake of drinking a Red Bull right before we went in. And that movie felt like it was 9 hours long, and I went out.
That's a long film.
I went out for like 5 wee-wees because of that Red Bull. So I was like, I thought I was done. Half an hour later, no, I've got to get back. So let's move on. Going to talk a bit about the granddaddy of them all now, Bridge Too Far. I'm going to show you a different clip first. Can I get that clip up on here? I don't know that I can. So annoying. Damn you, Facebook. I mean, damn you, StreamYard. Not sure. I don't think that this will share the audio if I play this. Tell me if you can hear the audio.
A little bit.
Very low, but I can hear it.
It is low.
Okay, I'll turn up my volume. So this is from my mega cut of Bridge Too Far. So my mega cut of Bridge
YouTube kept hitting you for.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not available anywhere, but I made it for my own entertainment. But it's Bridge Too Far with some scenes taken out, loads of new titles added, so you know where you are all the time, including this one that match up all the original titles. Completely new title sequence at the beginning with all the new cast added. All the important scenes from Band of Brothers episode 4 are all edited into it. So are scenes from the Forgotten War, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And one or two other bits, including the bit coming up now.
Traffic's all screwed up for miles. By the time we're ready, it'll be 0800. That's when we go. Fine. I'd like to wait and go tomorrow night, but the British can't hold. Better by daylight. Much.
Actually, that's the wrong bit. So let me just mute that for a second. I'm going to play this a bit further. But yeah, so that's the scene where they're talking about getting the boats ready for the assault across the River Wall, which is quite an important scene in the movie, quite an important chapter in the story. Bridge Too Far, shot in 1976 during the hot summer, released in 1977. It actually broke even its budget before the film actually came out. A lot of people think it was a financial disaster. That's not true. The producer was a very savvy guy, and he cut together an action reel from all the scenes that were shot around the bridge, showed that to overseas distributors, and every single one of them bought the film and paid for the price that he asked.
Yeah, this all pre-sales.
Yeah, so basically with pre-sales, the film was already back in the black, so to speak, before it opened. Which it wasn't a massive financial success. I think it did okay at the box office. It just didn't take off in America because Vietnam War had just kind of come to its rather horrendous end, and war films just were not in vogue at that time. So no one was really that keen to do another war film or see another war film, you know. But yeah, so I first saw it on TV I think it was screened on ITV. It was weird as well. It was screened on like a Wednesday evening. It was definitely a school night on ITV. Starting at something like 7 o'clock, ran until 9. And then I think it might have been like split between the news. And there were fucking loads of adverts all the way through it. As you would expect on ITV back then. But largely had a couple of cuts, but not many. And my friend had that on video, and we played it to death. You know, I go around his house and watch it every Saturday because he was like the only guy that I knew who owned a video recorder. So that's when I first got to see it. I saw it later at the cinema. I think it was at the National South Bank. They did a special screening of it at one point. Yeah, so that's when I first got to see it. In Northern, sorry, I think you've only just watched it, haven't you?
Well, it's the second time I watched it, and yeah, the first time I watched it, it's one of those films where you almost feel as tired and worn as everybody in the film because you know the war scenes just go on and on. They barely get a break. They're all constantly just trying to survive.
What did you think of the film overall?
Oh, it's a great film. It is. It's one of the best war films. You've got a great cast. It's really well directed, and it really does put you in there. It really does put you in their shoes. Hello?
Sorry, I was accidentally muted. Al. Yeah, Al, when did you first see it, mate?
I first saw this with my dad. It would have been on TV. I get the feeling it was cut to hell as well. And it would have been at least, 30 years ago now. I think I've seen it once since then. And it is, like Luke says, it is the kind of almost the go-to war film, isn't it, of that time. I think my dad, he watched loads of films like that when we were kids. When I was a kid, so he'd watched, that Battle of Britain, 633 Squadron, Cruel Seas. He used to love his naval dramas as well. So, it was a part of my childhood growing up, I suppose, war films.
I'll show you guys a sequence where I've cut it slightly differently. Have a quick look at this. And again, this was just done for fun. So, people in chat, don't write in and complain or anything. It's just done for fun. I just wanted the most definitive version of this story that I could create. So I'm going to turn up the volume for a second here. This wasn't the clip I wanted to show you, but I'll show you this one. Hopefully we won't get See, now those shots are not in Bridge Too Far. They're actually from the Forgotten War. Those bits.
It looks like you've done some color grading on it, though.
Yeah, I did. I regraded it all so it all matches.
So it matches, yeah.
Can you have scenes from Band of Brothers in there as well?
Yeah, I've cut all of the main stuff from B.O.B. in here. So here you go. So this will be one of them coming up here.
That speech with the umbrella. Bloody hell. No German would have one.
See, so it goes from that scene to this scene in Band of Brothers. That's why I put all the extra titles everywhere, so you know exactly where you are whenever it cuts.
Yeah, so you don't get lost.
Yeah, I mean, they did have a lot in Bridge Too Far anyway, but I put even more in, including like labeling all the different drop zones, and I've got character titles for main characters that arrive that we haven't met before.
It's a real shame they won't let you put it on YouTube, because you can't get much more transformative than what you've done, and there's plenty of other fan edits on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I know it got like about 7 rights flags. I mean, if I'd just been uploading Bridge Too Far, which is pretty old, probably wouldn't have been a problem. I think the main issue is I've got the Forgotten War is like only 2 years old. So I mean, again, here we go from Band of Brothers gets flagged pretty quickly as well. We'll talk about this episode of B.O.B. But so yeah, we go into the withdrawal. So when they do Operation Berlin, see, and those shots are from the Forgotten Battle again, but rescored with the Bridge Too Far soundtrack.
I was going to say you've overlaid the soundtrack. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and then that edits into the actual evacuation scene. So I did this big Facebook post about Bridge Too Far today, and I think of all the movies I've seen, including Star Wars, and that's a big statement when I say including Star Wars, this film is responsible more than any other for diverting and absorbing time from my life on Earth. Because if I think about not only all the times I've watched the movie, but all the times I've played board games about Operation Market Garden because of this movie, all the times I recreated all the battles with my toy soldiers because of this movie, all the wargaming battles I did when I was older with, and still do with miniatures because of this movie, painting of units that appear in this movie.
Bolt action or?
I'm 10mm I do, so Pendragon.
Oh,
and I've got the whole thing. I mean, I've got the whole battle from Eindhoven to Arnhem. I've got everything. And yeah, I mean, it's just the amount of time that it's, you know, the time I've spent reading books on the subject and playing computer games on the subject, to strategy games or whatever. This film, more than any other that I've ever watched in the history of my life, is responsible for taking up other hours of my life because of me watching it.
And never. Those recreations, do you get there before the Germans?
When I'm playing, if I play a strategy game, I land all of the First Airborne on the island.
Right. Okay.
That's what. If that's allowed, that's what I always do.
Yeah.
Which is
you do, really, doesn't it?
Which is what they should have done.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The operation still would have been a nightmare, but they would have got across the Rhine. Whether they would have been able to break out after that is debatable, but that, you know, that they would have got across the Rhine for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, when I sat down and actually thought about it properly, I just thought, oh, this film is like responsible for thousands of hours. Before I saw it, I'd never heard of Operation Market Garden. The main thing I was interested in World War II was D-Day. And Longest Day also is responsible for nicking quite a few hours from my life as well, with all the games and things I've done on that, but Bridge Too Far more so. I can't think of any other movie. You know, for some people it's Star Wars. They bought loads of figures, they bought all the Lego, they play all the games, they dress up and go to conventions and whatnot. That film for me was this one, even though I am a big Star Wars fan. So yeah, does anybody want to say anything else about Bridge Too Far, Inside Man?
Yeah, I mean, again, you know, pretty much mirroring what you'd said. It's you know, this was the one that really got my interest in the Second World War. I mean, some of the other movies that I had watched previously, as I'd said to you earlier, you know, things like Where Eagles Dare and Dirty Dozen and Kelly's Heroes, you know, but these are fictional stories. But when it came to this, I mean, the first I heard of it, we used to have this newspaper when I lived abroad. We had this newspaper called the Rand Daily Mail, and in the middle of the Sunday edition, there was always this magazine called Scope. And one Sunday, there was in this magazine, the whole magazine was taken up by A Bridge Too Far.
Oh, I bet you wish you still had that.
Oh God, yeah, I really do wish I really wish that I'd had it, because it had loads of behind the scenes photographs in it. It was all full color. And there was interviews with Richard Attenborough and everything. And at the back there was in the center pages was a pull-out poster. I've kept it for years and years and years. And I thought, you know, when this movie comes out, you know, I've got to go and see it. So me and a couple of friends, also sort of expats, we all sort of went down to this cinema, which was pretty much next door to the old South African president's house. And yeah, we went there, we watched it, and I was absolutely just blown away. I mean, cinematically, it's a beautiful film to watch. I love the big fireball special effects. I love those big sort of petrochemical type of special effects. You know, that we saw back at this time. You know, the big sort of flaming fireballs. I love all those effects.
Yeah, you can really feel the danger when they're exploding, because you had to be fucking careful, didn't they? Unlike today, where it could just be CGI'd now.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, it's got its little errors, you know, like
Don't tell me the portrayal of Browning, because apparently his family were really ticked off about his portrayal in this film.
Well, apparently there was one. I'm not sure which officer it was. He actually made quite a derogatory comment about Dirk Bogarde, and said, you know, he's not the type of fellow that we would have had in our regiment with us, because obviously he was homosexual.
Yeah.
But I know that what's his name? Jim Gavin was actually there on the set when they were filming certain scenes.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
So was Major Urquhart, and so was Colonel Frost.
Oh, was Urquhart and Frost there as well? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Urquhart was there during some of the filming of some of Sean Connery's scene. There's a picture of them playing golf in Holland. Once they told Connery, "Now look, there's a golf course near your hotel. I'm in." Is it me, or does this look a bit like Carry On Up Arnhem Bridge, this poster?
It does a little bit, yeah.
I'm just seeing some of the posters here. Look at this one.
I'm sorry, but we don't have the facilities to take your prisoner. Yeah.
Oh. It is like a proper Carry On poster, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, talking of Dirk Bogarde, I mean, I'm told that so one of the people that I befriended is the relatives of General Wasabowski, and who jumped in with the Free Polish Brigade, and his son and grandson at the time were still alive, and they sent me a signed copy of his autobiographical book, which is an A4 sized book all about the regiment, about the Polish Brigade, rather, sorry. and it's full of pictures of them training. It's got all the pictures they took at Arnhem. It's got the pictures they took when they went back to Arnhem after the war. So it's got all these really unique photos. And we talked about that, and they said that Browning and the Polish general were actually really good friends after the war, and they saw quite a lot of each other. But he did say that word on the street was that actually Browning's portrayal of the guy was pretty bang on. I just don't think that the family were very happy with it. And probably
I think the problem was they felt that the film made him out to be the fall guy of the disastrous operation, and not Montgomery.
Montgomery is strangely absent from the film, but that's kind of appropriate because he was very absent from the whole operation.
Obviously, a film about Montgomery himself planning it would be a better film, and it's just him. You don't see any of the scenes of the actual battle, just about him trying to get this operation planned.
I mean, one thing that I will say about Browning is he insisted on taking his headquarters, which really didn't need to be there on the first day, in with the 82nd, and so that took up 24 gliders, with his sort of desks and chairs and his personal valets and all the rest of it. So the headquarters unit, and I'm not saying that headquarters unit wasn't important, but it wasn't the headquarters unit of the 82nd or whatever. It was the Airborne Corps headquarters. And considering the shortage of aircraft and the need to capture objectives on the first day, I have to say I thought that was a badly misplaced priority. So
I think you can't put a price on that kind of maneuverability and ability to transport and to use that for what you used it for. I don't think it was a good idea at all.
I mean, the biggest error of all, and I'm sorry to blame it on my American friends, it was the failure of the 82nd Airborne to capture Nijmegen Bridge on the first day. If they had captured it on the first day, and Gavin had insisted on gliders landing north of the bridge, which they easily could have done, then 30 Corps would have. That was the biggest delay of the whole thing, was that Nijmegen Bridge wasn't in Allied hands when 30 Corps got there. It took them another 2 days to take it. Sorry, Inside Man, jump in.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not a fan of Montgomery, I have to say, and I think his ego really got the better of him. I mean, there were several aborted operations, or rather cancelled operations prior to this. I think there was what was it?
Operation
Comet. Comet. Which in essence was Market Garden, but bits and pieces were also cherry picked from was it Transfigure as well? Operation Transfigure. And I think afterwards it was supposed to be Operation Gatwick, which was the supposed to be the easy run into the German heartland. But I just think that he was quite an egotist, and I don't like him. I just don't like him. I don't think he was the right man for the job. I think if you put anybody else there, I know that Eisenhower had to keep reminding him, I am your boss. I am your boss. You're not mine. And was it Bradley? I think Bradley probably would have made a better organizer of this personally.
Well, I think Brereton should have been in charge of it. The American guy that was in charge of the Airborne Corps. I think General Brereton should have been in charge of it. But I mean, going back to the film, because we're not a history channel, so going back to the movie, you just you wouldn't see a film made like this today.
Never.
It just would. You wouldn't get. I mean, can you imagine getting to? So if you were going to get today's cast right for this, let's say, and you were going to get a cast of equal caliber, you would need Henry Cavill, Tom Hardy, maybe Andrew Lincoln, for the three sort of British leads, at least, people of their level. And then, I mean, for the Americans, you'd have to have DiCaprio, maybe doing Redford's role.
Or Brad Pitt as Redford's part, because he does kind of look like Robert Redford. So
I think Brad Pitt would play General Gavin.
Yeah. Well, he's old enough now, isn't he? I think if Brad Pitt was maybe 20 years younger, I think he would play Robert Redford's part then.
Yeah, I agree. Leonardo DiCaprio still looks like he's 19, so he can play the.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you'd need people of that level to match
Of
this
that
guy.
caliber, yeah.
Can you imagine what the budget would be? It'd be insane.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, exactly. I mean, everybody would have to agree to parity with the paychecks. That's the only way you'd make something on this scale. And I mean, there are plenty of battles of history that haven't been filmed that you could get an all-star cast in to make if you had the right script. But I just don't think you'd get this kind of confluence of talent on a film of this type with this kind of budget and this kind of epicness about it. Also, with mainly practical effects. There was some planes painted on glass, few of those type of things. But basically, apart from that.
Yeah, weren't they photographs that were cut out photographs and stuck onto glass? I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, a brilliant effect.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant effects.
They did a double.
That's the thing about the old days. That's why the films are so great. Is because they had to find ways to do it. Nowadays, Hollywood's just like, we'll just CGI it and do it in post.
Yeah, they had to be resourceful back then, didn't they?
Exactly. Yeah, that's the word, resourceful. So the inventiveness with miniature shots and things like that was just unparalleled. And they don't have it anymore.
They double exposed the negative with the glass.
Yeah.
So you kind of added the same way they put the extra Moonraker ships in Moonraker when they're going up to space station.
I do like the fact that they had like millions and millions of like extras just actually parachuting out the planes. It's probably one of my best shots where you just see where the sky is just raining full of parachutes.
They did a jump with 3,000 extras for that.
Yeah, and some of them are even caught on camera as well from the point of view, and it just makes you feel the adrenaline rush of them.
Yeah, I think for that jump thing, which by the way, they filmed it. They did it twice, and they got all the footage they needed at the same time. So you had some planes coming in with Americans in, and then they keep filming and shoot the Americans coming down. And then you'd have your American extras unit already on the ground that would come running around the corners as people are dropping in the background, and all very cleverly staged. All the cameras on the ground had to be camouflaged. So there's lots of shots of the cameras being camouflaged. One person was actually killed in the jump. One person died, broke their neck.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, so there was one that was died, and there was one who refused to jump, and he got proper bollocked.
Yeah, didn't he get? I think he got court-martialed, didn't he?
Did, yeah, because they were all the parachutists were primarily serving soldiers. I don't think.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah,
he was.
So wait. Mention this again. Was it a soldier that died parachuting, or was it a stunt double?
No, the guy who died parachuting, I don't know if he was a soldier.
Right. So
somebody did die doing the jump, from what I remember being told. But there was one guy who refused to jump. He was a soldier. He just lost his nerve, and he got court-martialed for it.
Yeah,
because he was still a combat-ready soldier. That happened in real,
serving paratrooper or parachutist. Yeah. But it's I mean, it's a remarkable piece of work. It really is, and it's on a scale that we only really see, as Critic Al was saying, on a CG type level these days.
Yeah.
The use of false perspective sets, and Alan Tompkins' amazing art direction and production design in this.
Yeah, he built that glider in the background, and I've got a photograph of that glider in the background in reverse, and it's all scaffolding poles behind.
Yeah. The same old similar kind of trick that
they did on Band of Brothers.
Yeah,
with the C-47s.
Yeah.
I mean, what's also great with this film is the use of the real locations. Shut Nijmegen Bridge down, which they called the $1 Million Hour, because it cost $1 million per hour to basically shoot that sequence.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the charge across the bridge, that was all done in reverse. So because of the way the current flowed and because of how they needed the bridge to be in the background of the shot, they actually had to film it on the other side of the bridge and have the Americans or actors and so on travel from the north bank to the south bank. So they filmed it on the opposite side of the bridge from where it actually took place, and they filmed it in the reverse travel distance.
Yeah.
In order to get it to work, basically, because otherwise they were all going to get dragged downstream and it was all going to go horribly wrong. So, I mean, there's only a few of the cast alive now. Michael Caine's still alive. Anthony Hopkins is still alive.
Robert Redford.
Robert
Elliot
Redford.
Gould.
Yeah.
Elliot Gould. Actually, he's probably about half that, because so is Gene Hackman, amazingly, at 95. I think
he's
95.
still going, man. He's still going.
Yeah.
Is Liv Ullmann still around?
I think she is. Yeah, plays Kate to Host. That's the scene from the end of the movie. Yeah, it's an incredible film. Some of the best action sequences ever committed to a movie.
I think Edward Fox is still alive, is he?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Edward
Fox.
And we just lost Jimmy Caan, and we just lost
James Caan died.
Yeah, we lost Jimmy Caan and Ryan O'Neal in the last 12 months. Yeah, so it's maybe what's
it's strange, because after the success of 1917, I thought we might have a bit of a resurgence of war films, but it just doesn't seem to have happened.
No, we got Dunkirk, and we got 1917.
Well, Dunkirk was before 1917, I think.
Yeah, I thought it was just an okay movie. Well made.
I like Dunkirk. I thought it was very clever, but I thought it was just too clever for its own good.
It wasn't the Dunkirk movie that I wanted, but I can accept that it's a good movie on its own terms, but it's not really. I watched it again for the first time since I saw it at the cinema last week, actually, and I was like, "Yeah, it's okay.
I like what he does. It's just it's not. It's Nolan, and Nolan doesn't do ordinary, if that makes sense.
He never does a linear narrative, which sometimes
exactly.
I just couldn't get by the. I just couldn't get invested in the characters. He didn't really give us characters to be invested with, and we should do. These are our heroes.
Yeah,
I know. Look at Leslie Norman's Dunkirk. You know, the original one with John Mills.
Yeah,
what a terrific film that is.
No, it's way better.
Yeah.
Phil Illustration says, "I love the way Dunkirk is made more than I love the film." I agree.
Yeah. So I admire Nolan. I admire Nolan as a filmmaker, but
yeah, I do. I mean, he's a day one. He's a day one purchase for me. I will see anything that man makes, because I consider him to be one of the few proper filmmakers left out there.
By the way, this movie was the first time I heard shit. When you were a kid, that was a very funny word, because people in England didn't say it, and it was like you heard it here, and then you heard it on Smokey the Bandit. It was like, oh, that's quite funny.
Yeah, he seems to be well known more as Ross and Monica's dad now, but people forget he could be a bit of a fucking badass back in his younger days.
Yeah, I mean, Capricorn 1, another good film of his. Terrific film, actually. But I really liked him in the Lady Vanishes.
That's good.
Sybil Shepherd.
It was Sybil Shepherd. Yeah, it's a good one. That I think it's a remake.
Doesn't she look amazing in that film?
Oh, she was, man. She was
in that dress. And there are moments in that dress where she kind of leans forward, because it's quite open at the front. And as a youngster, when I had that on rank home video, and I used to pause it at very specific moments. As she
I bet that part of the tape got proper fucked up.
Yeah.
Proper fucked up really quickly, didn't it?
It was really creased.
When you got Basic Instincts on VHS.
Why is this video cassette all sticky?
So this, by the way, interesting tidbit of information. This scene, which is at the end when they're at the church and they're like, "How short are we? Half a mile," and all that. This is actually built on the top of a grain silo. So they built this kind of miniature balcony, sort of replica balcony, with a bit of the church behind it, and then had a platform next to it, so they could shoot past them, so you could see the countryside. You could see they were elevated, but it was not actually shot on the church that you see in the established shot before this scene. Yeah, so they cheated.
So, Lance, would you say you've seen this film more than any other then?
Ooh, it's up there. Yeah, this Star Wars and the Lord of the Rings trilogy are probably the sort of top 3 films I've seen the most. I've only seen Bridge Too Far at the cinema once, though. I've seen the Lord of the Rings trilogy at the cinema probably 6 or 7 times. I've seen the Star Wars trilogy.
That's a film that really warrants a theatrical experience, though.
It does, yeah. I mean, it was good to see.
Sorry, apparently the real Roy Urquhart had no idea who Sean Connery was, and he was actually really puzzled why his daughters were so excited to see him play him in the movie.
Because he hadn't seen James Bond.
Yeah.
He didn't he didn't know about it.
Bond would have been what, 69, 68 for Dr. No?
Yeah. I've written to Rocky Taylor.
Oh, have you? Oh,
yeah.
superb.
Who I think is the stuntman jumping out of this vehicle here. But I haven't heard
Rocky
back
Taylor
from
was
him.
on it, yeah. Yeah, Rocky Taylor was on this.
Yeah, he was, yeah. I haven't heard back from him. He was one of the people that abseiled down into the volcano in You Only Live Twice. I mean, he's been on like so many massive films. I've written to him. He's got a profile on Facebook. I've written to him via Facebook, but I haven't heard anything. So whether he's seen the message or not, I don't know.
For anyone who doesn't know who Rocky Taylor is, apart from obviously, as Lance said, being a stuntman, he also, how I kind of got introduced to Rocky Taylor, and I think you probably did as well, didn't you, Lance, on the Stuntman Challenge thing that used to be on ITV in the 80s, in the early 80s?
Yeah, because he was kind of the sort of, somebody else hosted it, but he was like the guy that was
Yeah, I mean, you'd have people like he was the guy that used to do the horse racing on ITV and then Channel 4. I can't remember his name, John something or other. And then I think Lewis Collins did a couple of them.
Yeah, Lewis Collins.
Stuntman Challenge.
Yeah, but he's done loads. He's doubled for Roger Moore, Sean Connery, and the James Bond movies. Is Christ. So he's got a bit of a career then.
He really has, and where his career nearly ended was on Death Wish 3. Oh, mate, it was terrible. It was terrible. I mean, after it happened, literally, it was horrible.
Jesus Christ.
It was horrible. It was really horrible.
It's sad to say though, but it does kind of come with a job because you are risking severe injury doing these stunts, no matter how well trained you are. It's
the problem with this was that you had Michael Winner as a director, who was a strange man. I don't want to say too much about Michael Winner. What my thoughts are really. I think other people have probably expressed their thoughts an awful lot better than me, but he was someone who just wanted you to do something, and that's it. It didn't, by hook or by crook, you had to do it. And there was a safety issue, a serious safety issue, and he wasn't that fussed about this serious safety issue at the time. And Rocky Taylor, he didn't have an escape route when this roof was set alight, and he kind of landed on a box rig, or half landed on a box rig.
I remember you saying.
It was really bad, and as soon as it happened, everyone was told, basically, I was shouted at to get off the set, as were many other people, and that was when I didn't come back. I was told that there was, to keep my mouth shut, and we won't be asking anybody back. So I wasn't asked back. So I was kind of off of the gig, so to speak, and then but told to keep quiet, and I thought, this is an accident. If anyone asks,
get a bit more recognition for the risks that they put themselves through.
Yeah, these are amazing people. That I mean, Rocky Taylor, I think he was probably my first stuntman hero, actually, as a kid. He was the one, and I never ever dreamed in my wildest dreams that I would have been there with Rocky Taylor on the same set. Unfortunately, it was with him on a set where he could have been killed, which is, it's pretty serious.
Presumably they have their own industry awards, but nothing else.
Yeah, it's only recent. I think it's the Taurus Awards. It's nothing. It's nothing particularly big. It's why they don't get an Oscar? Why they don't have their own category for Oscars?
Yeah, they definitely, absolutely should have a category in the Oscar. I couldn't agree more. Just shouting out Ryan Randall, currently out of Wi-Fi, using data off my phone, but worth it to watch this stream. I admire your dedication, sir. Thank you very much. For the 14 people watching, there were 17 when I first checked. Where are the other 3 gone? Just to let you know, I'm about 148 subs away from 4,000. So if you feel the inclination, you have a spare couple of minutes, do a little post on your social media about the channel, the amazing, unique content that it has to offer, and encourage your friends to give us a sub. I would love to hit 4,000 within the next couple of weeks. Would be good. Sooner the better, preferably before Galen Hurd comes on the channel.
Like the stream as well, it'll boost it in the algorithm.
Yeah, indeed. So, and Leroy earlier congratulating Shogun. We mentioned it at the beginning of the stream. Shogun won 2 Emmys for its lead actors. I'm sure it may have won other categories as well. But the 2 actors that we said when we were watching it deserve to get awards. Very pleased to see the 2 Japanese leading actors, Anna Sawai and Hiroki Sanada, I want to say. Forgive me if I pronounce those wrong. Exceptionally gifted, talented actors and earn those awards for sure. So there does need to be an Oscars for stunts, yes.
Yeah, it's an absolute travesty. I can't get my head around why. But these are people that, as all actors say, all action actors say, these are the guys that make us look good.
Exactly.
Which is, it's an often, it's quite a hackneyed phrase, but it's absolutely true. It may
I think there should be an award for best stunt and best stuntman or lady.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
There probably should be an Oscar for best stunt coordinator at least. I think.
I think this is kind of how it looks like it might be going. That it's a stunt coordinator, and obviously that whole team are that are under him as him or her. Get that same kind of accolade and recognition because they are part of that stunt crew. But boy, do we have some great stunt coordinators in this country. I mean, we really do have some amazing stunt performers and coordinators in this country. And I think the best second unit directors that you will ever find will always be a stunt performer or stunt coordinator. These are the people that know action. They know what action is.
I actually love.
They're saying, why am I hearing the Fall Guy lyrics? That's one thing I actually really liked about that film this year. Was it did shine a spotlight on the stuntmen a little bit more because they are underappreciated.
Very much, yeah.
All right, let's move on from Bridge Too Far because we're an hour and 10 minutes in. Some other things I want to cover. Sorry, Northern, you wanted to say something before we.
It doesn't matter now. We'll move on. It's fine.
I'll give you the final word on it if you want to say something.
Yeah, it was just about Fall Guy and how it captured the brotherhood that the stunt team had with each other. That was basically it. But yes, but yeah.
Okay, but that's not to do with Operation Market Garden. So
yeah.
All right. So I wanted to give Black Book a shout out, which is a film that a lot of people kind of missed when it came out. Foreign film subtitles, always a big turn off for the American audience. This isn't about Operation Market Garden, but it takes place before, during, and after Market Garden, has its completely own separate narrative. Market Garden gets a mention in it. The line is, "You mean like the Tommies got their ass kicked in Arnhem?" I think is the actual line. But it's the true story of a Dutch double agent who was ordered to basically befriend a German SS officer whom she would have a relationship with, in order to get information for the Dutch resistance. And one of the people in the cell that she was working for, was also a double agent working for the Germans. It's a true story made by Paul Verhoeven, quite restrained, although the action is there. Extremely well directed, amazing production design, fantastic lead performance from Carice Van Houten. I have written to her in the past to ask her to come on the channel to do a special about this. But again, these are old social media accounts and I can see she hasn't seen it. But hey, if you happen to watch, Carice, I would love to talk to you about your time working on this film. Sebastian Koch, who plays the SS officer, also superb in this movie. I saw it at the cinema when it came out in 2006. I saw it actually at the Empire Leicester Square, and yeah, it was great. I mean, it wasn't the biggest screen, but it was really, really good. I nicked a couple of shots from this for my Bridge Too Far mega edit as well. So establishing shots for German headquarters and that sort of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good, clever movie, quite harrowing, and just covers really well the complexity of collaboration and resistance. And there's a couple of films that do that really well. This is one of the best. And if you take the example of a resistance person comes up and picks a person out of a crowd when the Allies have come to liberate, drags them out, calls them a traitor, how do you know that person is really telling the truth? And you're not just getting caught up in the moment and then, you know, you're picking up a rock to stone that individual because somebody said they were a traitor. How do you know they really are? How do you know the person that's pointing the finger isn't really the traitor to deflect blame? It kind of asks those kinds of questions. And yeah, it's a stunning piece of work. It's probably, in my view, it's one of Verhoeven's best movies.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah,
right up there with RoboCop for historical accuracy.
Yeah, I was going to say, no idea this even existed. But
no, it's listen, you definitely, Al, you definitely want to check it out. It is 2 hours of your time that you will not regret. It's, you know, it's good, and it's got some really good twists and turns. And Holland 1944 is really well visualized. You know, most of it all shot on location, very few kind of studio sets or anything like that. So a lot of redressing of things.
I shall source a copy and check it out.
Yeah, I give it 9 out of 10. So by the way, what did we all give Bridge Too Far out of 10?
10.
Yeah,
10. Okay.
You could give a film like that anything but a 10, to be honest.
A 10 too far.
A 10. 10 it is. Yeah, I'll give this a 9 out of 10. I think it's also really good. So that's Black Book. This is not a 10 out of 10. This is a film that pretends it's going to be about Market Garden and then just becomes this is what we could make for the funding we had. So this is called The Last Drop. And I saw the trailer for this and I was like, oh, it's set during Market Garden. And this was back in the day when Billy Zane still had a bit of capital. You know, you saw his name in the credits. You didn't go, oh, it's going to be a B movie and he's going to have a walk-on, walk-off part for 5 minutes. And this is one of the first films where they started doing that, where they would pay an actor like Michael Madsen to come in for 2 days, pay him about, you know, 200 grand. He'd do a couple of scenes and then he was off. And this is one of the first movies to do that. It's basically about a load of guys that are going on Operation Market Garden, but they separate from the main group and they go and do their own mission. The mission is not particularly exciting. It's shot in Eastern Europe. There's predominantly one set with a big windmill, which of course they have to blow up because it's the set they built for the film. But then at different times, the story goes to two different areas of Operation Market Garden. And at one point, we cut to Michael Madsen, who is protecting a bridge, which is supposed to be the bridge at best, judging from what they're implying, who would actually be nowhere near where the rest of the film is set. And then we jump from there to a night sequence, which is a battle with British paras in an urban environment, which is presumably Arnhem, which, by the way, is like about 35 miles away to the north. But it's like it's happening down the street in the story. So this film is absolute historical bollocks. Yeah. Has anyone else seen it?
I've not seen it. What year was this? What year was this movie?
2006. The same year as the
same
year as Black Book, and nowhere near as good.
Good God.
Absolutely terrible film.
It looks like, to me, or rather it sounds like this is somebody that had a little bit of money to spare that they needed to write off for tax purposes.
Well, I don't know. Let's have a look. Directed by Colin Teague, who went on to do, you can see I rated it 2 out of 10. He's got 32 directing credits now. He has done an episode of Van der Valk Rahash, which I don't know that show. And I mean, listen, this guy could be director for hire. Came in, did the job. He did Dragonheart 3.
Yeah.
Some episodes of The White Queen. That's actually a pretty good show. So he's also credited with co-writing the script, which means he definitely wanted to do some rewrites. Gary Young, who's wrote Two Graves. I know the people that produced that. Okay, and he also did Shooters. So actually, these are jobbing. Some of these are jobbing indie people.
Yeah.
What you really want to look at is who produced it.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are doing the right. We're going to give you a budget of 7 million. You turn up to film. Oh, it's Andrew Loveday, Michael Loveday, and Terry Loveday.
It's a tax write-off. I'm telling you.
I'm not saying anything. That's the guys that make the Rise of the Foot Soldier movies. So I did not know the Lovedays had produced this film. Okay, that's explains a few things. The music for this movie was okay. I seem to recall it sort of had a kind of a nice World War II vibe, and he did that. This composer went on to do Cabin in the Woods. Good for him. Good for him. Yeah.
Let's rewatch that again. That was a good film.
Cabin in the Woods.
Is Michael Madsen or Billy Zane at least cool in this movie?
They're not really given enough to be cool. I mean, the cast are fine. You've got Sean Pertwee, Tommy Flanagan, you've got Ray Spall, you've got Nick Moran in there, Jack Dee's even in it. The actors are absolutely fine. It's just a nothing story. It's just a nonsense movie. I can't recommend it, not even for like comedy and beer value. I mean, look, we can see a bit of the trailer here. Let's have a look. I don't know if you guys can hear it. You guys hear that?
No.
Hang on. I think you do need to hear it because it's got a certain cheese quality to it, which I feel you. Let me see if I can get it up in a different menu. I think I can. Yeah, there we go. I think you should be able to hear it. No, you should be able to hear it now. Yeah, you should be able to hear it now.
Yeah.
You and your men are off to Holland.
JD.
You will be leading the last drop.
Very rogue guy.
Losing altitude. Brace yourselves, we're going down.
An aborted mission.
You managed to get a fix on that position.
The chaos of battle.
So, I've got to see.
A plot is in motion.
I promise the Fuhrer his prize. You will accept nothing less.
And for every opportunist,
it's a hell of a war, Jack.
There's only one way to win.
What kind of assignment are you on?
Us being here is no accident.
Distract the enemy. Sabotage the alliance.
Make the necessary arrangements for the transportation of the merchandise. It must be in Berlin before the Allies take
going full hello there.
We are talking about millions.
Fog of war. What better time for a robbery?
Oh God. Oh dear.
Open fire!
In the fog of war, trust no one.
He's a Nazi spy!
He's a Nazi spy!
Looks like they spent about £3.50 on it.
So this is this is basically not Kelly's Heroes.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing with it, right, is that you watch that trailer and you think, okay, it's a kind of a heist movie set in World War II. Now, if it had gone all out for that from the get-go, they could have probably conjured up something half decent. Instead, they sort of pretended it's a load of guys going on market garden, but then they accidentally end up in this heist, which some of them were actually intending to do and the others don't know about it. It's just the whole plot is just proper wank. It's really not good.
I do miss trailers like that though.
It disappoints me. It does disappoint me when you think, you know, there's so much potential, production potential there, when you have cast potential as well, and you just completely balls it up. You have the opportunity there in front of you, but you know, if writers and producers are so blinded by the product that they've got, and they're not open to there being any other alterations to that, any additional sort of drafts or any changes to what the product is in order to improve it, you know, that kind of blinkered behavior really, I find it really aggravating and irritating and annoying and frustrating. I just can't bear it.
Well, some of the reviews on IMDb are not funny and not very good. An okay movie to fill the time. I wouldn't give 4 out of 10 to that description. 1 out of 10, just about the worst film I have ever seen. What were the filmmakers thinking? Well, tax break. 1 out of 10, unbelievable. The UK has a strong tradition in making decent World War II movies. This is not one of them. The acting, the script, the storyline, accents and special effects, you name it, are just so awful. Michael Madsen's appearance on the DVD cover drew me in. Wow, that's what he was paid for.
Yeah, Michael Madsen is probably looking at these reviews and saying, well, at least I got paid.
I was not rewarded with his capabilities. 3 fatal flaws ruined the last drop. Okay, well, what are these 3? There's 4 of them. 1, the British detachment is led by a fascinating character, a Scottish captain who is killed in the firefight following the crash. For the rest of the film, the rest of the British soldiers quarrel amongst themselves over who's the real leader. The National Socialist SS officer is clearly an important character to the plot. We never learn anything about him. That's true. 3 renegade German soldiers who somehow know about the treasure trove of Dutch artifacts are introduced in the crudest possible way. Yeah, they just kind of appear halfway through the film. This is what I mean. I mean, the heist isn't even the plan of the main characters. It's a subplot within a subplot. 1 out of 10. I hate this movie. Sign the Inside Man. This film was a joke, but it was not a funny one. I mean, some people have. If you go down towards the bottom, there'll be the ones that were commissioned. But there's a lot of 1 out of 10s on here. More likely a War Picture Library story than a serious war movie. I quit watching this turkey before it got really bad. Terrible movie. This one says 5 out of 10, action, suspense, and heroic feats in Operation Market Garden. Well, this is a fake review because there's fuck all about Market Garden in this film. I can tell you that now.
Well, look at the 9 out of 10 that came out pretty much when it came out.
Oh, that's got to be written by one of the producers.
For sure.
Most certainly. I mean, you can always tell when you read them. And
it's so cringe. It really is. If it really is a producer, it's so hard-hearted. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I've seen it before though. It does happen.
Yeah.
Not as good as Kelly's Heroes, but you gave it a 6 out of 10. I mean, what are you, crazy?
I know they really think by putting that one good review, that disingenuine good review, it's suddenly going to save the movie. It doesn't. It does not work like that. Sorry.
I'm so glad I didn't accidentally buy this from the shelves of Sainsbury's. Do you remember when they used to have that DVD rack?
Yeah,
and every week there would always be one new World War II movie that you'd never heard of with a cool cover, and sometimes it would be a good movie that was like imported from Russia or Norway or somewhere like that, a little film but quite good that you hadn't heard of, and then other times it would be a turd like this. Fortunately, I didn't pay to see this film either.
So this one was actually released straight to Bargain Bucket.
Pretty much. Didn't have a cinema release, I can tell you that. Yeah, here we go. The Love it. 10 out of 10. Review from the Queen of Doom. Oh, that's 2021. You're kidding me.
What else has he reviewed?
This could be Critic Owl's wife. She's done a review of Sting. Look. So.
Hey, I reviewed Sting. I like Sting.
Yeah, I'm sure you did.
I'm a bit biased.
Your favourite Spider movies. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. Let's not waste any more time on the last drop. It's the last drop you should ever watch.
Yeah, it just reminds me of the last time I took a dump. That's what that's what the title kind of implies to me.
This film, on the other hand, is worth watching. It's an unusual film. It's got 4 separate narratives. One about a Dutch girl just trying to make it through the war. One about a German conscript who really doesn't want to be in the war. And then 2 British storylines about 2 different British characters.
Tom Felton's that lad from Harry Potter, isn't he?
He's very good in this. And the main story thread that sets everything up is it's about a glider that becomes detached early on, breaks free from its cable during Market Garden, lands way off course on Walcheren, which is one of the islands linked by all the causeways, which were notoriously difficult for the Allies to take because this is what happens. Now, what the film doesn't do well is the operation to start clearing the Scheldt Islands actually began in October, quite some weeks after Market Garden. So it doesn't cover the passage of time very well, even though this story obviously takes place over about a month. So you haven't got on screen 10 days later or whatever, which they really did need. But niggles aside, this is an exceptionally well-made movie, brilliant production design, good performances all round from the cast. Want to know where they got that glider from?
I was going to say, is that a real 1-1 glider? Because it looks like it.
Prop. It might be that's probably a Alan Tompkins job, as in it's a flat pack. But this is an actual street. You can see it's a modern street, but they've redressed it. See the way they've covered up the modern building here, putting up this wall, and using it for the film. The production designer did an absolutely first-class job with this movie, and I nicked loads of scenes from it and put them in my Bridge Too Far mega edit because loads of it worked. The CGI for the airborne fleet approaching Holland is so well done. I mean, you can tell it's CG, but it's good CG. It's not like the CG.
It's only 4 years old.
Yeah, and this is a Netflix funded production.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it dropped a couple of years ago on Netflix. It came out much earlier than that in Holland. It got a cinema release in Holland, but it didn't come out for sort of mainstream release until sometime later. And of course, because I've edited loads of it into Bridge Too Far, I can show you a bit. Here's one I made earlier, kind of thing, So yeah, have a quick look. I'm going to get loads of copyright flags tonight for this. Note the Bridge Too Far soundtrack playing.
Mm-hmm. That's not bad CG. You're right.
Yeah, and then we cut to 30 cool. So let's try and get a bit more of that. Can. Yeah. So that sequence, for example, incredibly well done. I mean, the fact that it's a daytime crash as well, which is harder to film, harder to make that look right. And I'm guessing how they shot that was partly with a practical prop that actually was maybe put on a crane and went into the water, or it might be that they just filmed the camera POV first and then meshed it together with post elements. Difficult to know, but really well done. It's not a perfect film by any means, but I can't fault the cast. I thought the cast, particularly Theo Barkland Biggs, who's an up-and-coming British actor that I really like. Seen him in a load of things now. Is really good in it. Jamie Flatters is good. The German and Dutch actors are very good, and of course it's all filmed in Holland, so it looks very authentic.
Do we get a lot of the German and Dutch dialogue, or is it all sort of translated into English? Are they speaking in English?
I would say that the film's an even split between I'd say 33% German storyline, 33% Dutch civilian and underground storyline, and the rest is British.
But are they speaking in their native languages?
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good. I mean, it's just a little bit of a bugbear of mine when we get something and all of a sudden everybody's speaking fluent English.
Or Lawrence Fox doing an hello accent kind of thing.
Yeah,
which we
yeah.
No, I mean, I was able to, because there's so much footage of the Air Armada in this film, I was able to edit it all into Bridge and much more kind of give the feel of the different divisions approaching their different respective targets. And the only reaction you get on the ground in Bridge Too Far is the German officer coming out and going, "Oh, I wish I had such power at my disposal," kind of thing, whereas there's lots of shots in this film with the Dutch reacting to the fleet arriving over the coast. And that enabled me to really show, the fleet approaching all the respective different places, actually. So if I show you this bit, quite proud of this edit, and of course I rescored it, put different titles on it, all of that. Man, if only I had the money to make Paratrooper, I'm gonna have to do this shit. So so they look up in this shot because they see the fleet coming, right? There's the airborne armada. And then I'm able to title different cities that we know are going to be in the story using these shots. Which again, see how that all worked? Yeah. Shame that Maximilian Schell's career was subsequently tarnished. But we won't go there. Right. So, yeah. Has anyone else seen this movie, The Forgotten Battle?
No, I've not seen it. No.
I
will now.
I certainly seek it out if it's on Netflix or something.
It's still on Netflix. It's still on Netflix.
Watch.
It's definitely worth your time. I give the production design on it like 10 out of 10. Fantastic job from the art director and production designer. Visual effects, I'd give a solid 8 out of 10. They look very good for the most part. Acting, 8 out of 10. I think the story is a little bit convoluted. It tries to do a bit too much. It might have been a slightly stronger movie with maybe one or two less characters. But then also that approach to the narrative is kind of what makes it interesting, is what makes it different.
Makes it stand out a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you can question the accuracy of Jamie Flatters' character getting shot down, spending a few weeks with the Dutch, and then ending up with another British unit, not paratroop, not airborne forces, fighting with them on the ground, whereas in fact he would have been taken straight back because glider pilots are very valuable. You don't let a glider pilot go and join a different. They do fight on the ground once they've landed. That they do. But that's not what happens here. He ends up joining a different British unit in a different operation on the ground as ground infantry. It's not quite the same thing. That's stretching the plausibility a little bit, but that's a minor niggle. Still a good film.
It was filmed in Lithuania.
Yeah. I think some bits in Holland and
the battle scenes was Lithuania because they weren't allowed to blow stuff up.
Yeah, there's a scene set on the Russian front near the beginning with some of the German characters before they get transferred to. But these scenes, obviously, I think these were filmed in Dutch. There's a lot of
makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, it's great. It's really well done. Superb film.
Yeah, I think
I give it 8 out of 10. Yeah. So then we have the Band of Brothers episode, Replacements. After Bridge Too Far, probably the next most accurate thing on Market Garden, apart from theirs is The Glory.
Mm.
And you're in this episode, so do you want to say a bit
Yes.
about it, Inside Man?
Yeah. I mean, what do you want me to just mention a little bit about sort of what was shot and where we shot it, and a little bit of behind the scenes stuff, maybe?
Talk as long as you feel I need for me to have a sneaky wee.
Right. Okay. So, so this was shot predominantly over. In fact, I say predominantly. It was shot entirely over at Hatfield Studios, which was obviously the location, same location that Saving Private Ryan was shot. The first stuff that we actually did, as I recall, was on the airfield. So we had all these sort of flat packed aircraft. You know, they were literally just all painted one side. We had an aircraft hangar that was painted. It was painted to look like there was an aircraft inside it, and it was just a completely flat sort of facade. And it was scorching hot. It was absolutely roasting when we shot this episode. Really, really hot. I think we started in the May and then went into the June, and we had a particularly hot summer. But it was, I think it was one of the shortest episodes that we filmed. Not episodes in duration, but I think it's one of the shortest shoots that we had, and it was the one that we had just prior to the hiatus, the summer hiatus, before the cast went home for a couple of weeks. But it was an interesting shoot, and especially going over from the airfield set over to the Eindhoven set. The sort of the dikes and the raised roads, and and the convoy. I spent some time on top of a Sherman, just going round and round and round on this, sitting on top of this Sherman tank. I think we were making up time on this because we'd already shot on episode 1. So there's actually 2 episode 1s that were shot, one of which was never used.
Oh yeah, don't forget that private screening that we're going to have.
Oh yes, yeah. And then so to make up time, we were actually shooting weekends on this episode, so that we were kind of playing catch up. So we had to get to a point in filming where we had a completed episode on this, because obviously the weather is completely unpredictable in this country. So we had to make sure that once the cast come back after the hiatus, the summer hiatus, that that if the weather is a little bit inclement, let's say, it just wouldn't match. So everything was got out of the way as quickly as possible. So it was a pretty fast shoot.
That's a replica Jag Panther that Stephen Lammonby built, and I believe that's him driving it in this scene.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah.
But whilst we were shooting this episode, parts of episode 9 were being shot as well. So some of the cast that were in this, for some of the scenes, they were actually over at the Hatfield House estate where the concentration camp was. So we had 2 units shooting 2 episodes at the same time. So they really did manage to make up time on this. But it was a great episode to do. Really enjoyed this. Yeah, and I nearly got run over by a tank.
Yeah.
I nearly got run over by a tank, and I was on top of a Sherman, and the Sherman nearly, well, I say nearly, it was actually perched on the edge of this huge dike, because all the vehicles in front of us were dragging bags of Fuller's earth to kick up a little bit of smoke and everything. And of course, the tank that I was on, he couldn't quite see where he was going, so he didn't turn in time, and we were perched right over the edge of this dike. So probably a couple of foot further, we would have tipped over. and I probably would have had 20 tons of metal on top of me. Yeah,
that would not have been good for you.
No, that would have been a bad day. But this was one of the episodes where I played both a German and one of Easy Company. So,
double agent, nice.
Yeah, collaborator.
Yeah. Was it more fun playing the Germans or Easy Company?
Easy, to be honest. Easy. I mean, it was you kind of felt quite weird in the German stuff. I mean, after being in all the American gear, I don't know. It was weird. You kind of walked differently. I mean, obviously because the equipment's very different. You know, we had these sort of big hobnail boots and everything, and gaiters, and you know, different. You know, it's made of different fabrics and what have you. But I don't know. You just felt very, very different walking around. You know, felt like you had to walk around slightly more upright. And that's a really strange thing to say, but it's true. Your spine kind of stiffened slightly, whereas when you were in the American gear, you know, you felt much more comfortable. It was quite nice gear to wear, apart from the woolen shirts.
Do you think that might be due to the part of the tailoring of the Nazi costumes you had to wear, because they always looked like they were sewn on a bit too tight on the officers?
I think you're right. I think it is to do with the tailoring. But the gear that we wore for the Americans, I loved it. And in fact, I loved it so much. I managed to have 3 full uniforms of my my American gear. I think about 5 or 6 helmets. I think I come away with. I've got a few stick grenades and bits and pieces that I don't know how, but they suddenly made their way home with me.
Are you saying you stole stuff off the set?
No, they were gifted to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
From the back of a lorry.
Spielberg and Hanks came up to you and said, "Congratulations, Private. These are yours."
Whew, I think I got out of that one.
Imagine if you made new friends and they came back to your house and saw one of the Nazi uniforms from your days on there. They'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, but I think most of us actually come away with something. You know, I mean, I got all my, or I did have all of my 101st Airborne stuff. So a couple of M43 jumpsuits, M42, the helmets. Like I said, I think I had about 4 or 5, maybe even 6 helmets, boots, everything, full webbing kit, the lot, grenades, everything. Yeah, and and I just sort of got rid of it, you know. I mean, one, I think I donated to a theatre actually in Edinburgh, and there was another one I got rid of for charity. That was a full kit. And they just kind of, you know, sort of. I don't know what I've got left.
One of the things that this episode doesn't get right, or it would be more accurate to say conveys an inaccurate thing, is it was actually Easy Company's job to capture the Somme Bridge, which of course we see that get blown up in Market Garden. The only reference to it is really Damian Lewis's character sort of talking in the crowd saying, "Here, you know, we got to find it. The bridges are up this way somewhere." But the Somme Bridge, I believe, actually blew up on the first day. Easy Company didn't get into Eindhoven until the morning of the second day. They weren't in Eindhoven the same day that they jumped. So there's no passage of time to illustrate that. They jump, they don't come into contact with anyone. The next thing you know, they're in Eindhoven.
Yeah.
And the British are there. There was a firefight in Eindhoven. There were several manned 88 flat guns, which were actually engaging Allied airplanes at the time. And the 101st went in and cleared them out. So it wasn't like there was no one in Eindhoven. There wasn't many people, and it didn't take long, but there were people. So yeah, it was the link up between the 101st and 30 Corps happened on the second day, not on the first.
Right. So this is the 18th.
Yeah.
This is the Monday the 18th. So I think
right.
it was all took place on a Sunday, didn't it?
Yeah, because if you remember in Bridge Too Far, they go, well, we won't make it to Eindhoven tonight. It will be dark shortly. They were expected to get to Eindhoven on the first day, but they didn't because it took longer for them to break through Valkenswaard than they anticipated because the German resistance was much tougher. And of course, the road was narrow and, caused a lot of problems. So, yeah, but so it was basically it was the second day that they went south. They reached the north end of Eindhoven, and it was around noon that airborne were met lead reconnaissance units from X Corps, so 30 Corps. Yeah, so there you go. So that's the main inaccuracy. It's not a big deal.
There was something that Bill Garnier mentioned in his book, and it was about Market Garden, and it was concerned with the replacements. And and what he said was that when we were going out to Normandy, we were all kind of full of vim and vigor and everything, and we were really excited, and we were going to give the Nazis hell and all that, because we didn't know what we were in for. And then there were some replacements that were talking to him, and he said, what's the matter with you? We heard that you were really excited when you went out on D-Day. And he said, yeah. He said, that's because we didn't know what we were in for. He said, well, what about now? He said, well, now I do know what we're in for. I do know what we're going to be up against. I do know what it's like to fight these people in combat. And of course, the replacements, they were, as green as anything because they were rushed through. But there's some really interesting accounts of Market Garden, some great books. I mean, obviously, Cornelius Ryan's book, A Bridge Too Far, is probably the gold standard, if you like. But I think Max Hastings has done one, I believe.
I've probably got every book on Market Garden going. There's Buckingham's one.
Yeah.
I've got another one behind me here. D.A.D. Harvey.
Right.
I wrote a fairly sort of more kind of minimalist one, but lots of pretty pictures and maps and things.
Yeah.
So
there's one called The Devil's Bridge, one that I got recently. And of course, Al Murray has just released one, I think, as
that's right. Yeah.
It's Arnhem Black Tuesday is called.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't read that yet.
No, I'm looking forward to getting it. Actually, I think it should be quite an interesting read because he's a real history buff, and again, he's pretty good on this one on Market Garden. It's something that's quite dear to him, and I think it's due to the fact that his father was he was a paratrooper or a parachutist.
I think I've got another scene that I want to show you guys. I think it's this one. Let me have a quick look. Yeah. So but this episode of Band of Brothers, I take it everybody's seen Band of Brothers, haven't they?
Oh yeah.
I've never seen it, mate. I've heard it's a right load of old rubbish.
Terrible. It's got that.
Yeah.
It's got that.
And you'll love Masters of the Air.
That terrible actor Gary. What's his name?
Yeah.
It all up. So I was actually looking for a different to emphasize how difficult it was to get through to the bridge, and yeah, that was. I was looking for one of the clips from Band of Brothers here when Eindhoven's being bombed. I'm trying to remember where I put it in the actual. This version of the movie's 4.5 hours long, so it's quite difficult to find different bits. But yeah, but that was one of the things I was glad that they mentioned, because that was terrible. It was the day after Eindhoven had been liberated, so of course all these civilians were overjoyed that the war for them was over finally. and then the German Luftwaffe, which was nothing to speak of at that time. And the British or the Allies didn't think that they needed to screen the skies over their advance at night. And German night fighters were already a thing at this point in time, right? So, yeah, the Luftwaffe conjured up, I think it was about 38 bombers. And knowing that Eindhoven was a major traffic hub for their advance, the Allies' advance, they bombed the shit out of the town, which is why it's all modern if you go into the Eindhoven.
I've been Eindhoven a few times. There's very, very little that is not modern.
Yeah. This was another bit I wanted to show you guys. I think it's and then we cut to that. Yeah, here we go.
How long can he hold? Goddamn boats.
So that footage cut in there, which this scene, I've got like 2 different versions of the Bridge Too Far soundtrack as well. So
yeah,
including the vinyl one, 3 technically if you count my vinyl copy. Yeah, sorry, getting super nerdy now.
I was always kind of I always thought that, looking back on it now, that I would have preferred to have seen Jim Gavin as somebody a little bit more, a little bit harder, a little bit more heroic, a bit more manly, if you know what I mean.
Well, John Wayne was supposed to play him originally.
Yeah.
John Wayne was Richard Attenborough went for John Wayne for either Gavin or for Robert Redford's part, whatever would work with his schedule. But that's when Wayne confided in him that he was fighting cancer and he was losing.
Yeah.
So that was not going to happen, and I think he went to Robert Redford next, and Redford got the part, And I think I can't remember if it was Sean Connery. Yeah, it was Sean Connery. Sean Connery found out during shooting that Redford was getting paid, I think it was about $75,000 more than him, something like that.
Yeah, he went on strike for a shot stint, didn't he?
Well, basically, he refused to do any more filming until they matched it. And I mean, that's the kind of thing that went on at that time, the jostling for...
There must have been a massive clash of egos.
I mean, it is, but it's also I mean, in one way, it's absolutely appalling behavior. But you also, from the point of view, is if word on the street is Redford costs X, but Connery only costs Y,
yeah,
it devalues Connery's considered contribution to the film industry.
Yeah.
So he can't have that. He has to be as expensive as Redford because he is bringing the same value as Redford. Therefore, he has to be paid the same as Redford. Redford can't be paid more than him. Those kinds of arguments go on today all the time.
I mean,
all the time.
All the time. What he could command for the next film as well. So, as you say, he's got to address it.
Yeah. So, I mean, I listen, I've heard a lot of stories about Connery and from lots of different people, and most of them are not great. Jason Fleming had a good time with him on the last film he ever shot, and he's got lots of really fun Connery stories. But I've heard quite a few, But hey, he was a good actor. So, and in a lot of my favourite movies, what can I say? Yeah, so I'm trying to find this scene with the bombing of Eindhoven. I think it's coming up. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. So you see, I used that with them getting bombed so that they get bombed the same time the city gets bombed. And then I put up the body count and did titles for it. So it all kind of fitted in seamlessly in the Bridge Too Far Supercut. Presently not available anywhere apart from...
Yeah, it's a real shame. There's a lot of educational value in it.
I might try and put it up on Rumble. Somebody said Rumble's quite good for this sort of thing. Apparently.
Well, you having problems with the file size for that, or you have to split it up, you reckon?
No. I mean, I uploaded this to Facebook. It took about 2 hours, but as soon as it went up online, even unlisted, I had it unlisted. It got blocked on in every country, like within minutes. I mean, they were fucking all over that shit. Yeah, so I think apart from documentaries, that's all the films and TV shows I can think of that cover Operation Market Garden. Inside Man, have I missed anything?
I don't think you have. But what I was going to say was, considering that this was such an enormous operation, a monumental historic operation with monumental consequences for the various eras, it's surprising that there have been so few that have been made.
I am really surprised that because even the Battle of Arnhem is begging to have a mini series made.
Yeah.
About it, and you really could, and I mean, you could do what I did with the Paratrooper episode that I wrote. Don't have any scenes set at the bridge, because we've seen all those. We got all those in Bridge Too Far. I mean, you're not going to be able to recreate them to the same standard, unless Elon Musk decides to bankroll the mini series. So. Why bother? Focus on. There's so many other bits of the battle that we never see in Bridge Too Far. The time when the paratroopers bayonet charged out the woods.
Yeah,
about 400 of them got cut off, didn't they? At one point.
Yeah, yeah.
There just doesn't seem to be the appetite for it at the moment. I don't know why, but they're not getting made.
Yeah, it's fucking millennials in key positions of commissioning. What can you say?
Yeah, pretty much. As I say, after 1917, which I thought should have got the Oscar personally, I just thought that after that Sam Mendes film, there'd be loads of them, and there was nothing. I was very surprised. Maybe naive, but
Yeah, there was. I mean, I think I do think if it hadn't have been for Dunkirk and 1917. You probably wouldn't have got the Forgotten Battle, and there were some other smaller World War II films. I'll tell you what. Well, in the remaining time, we won't stay on for too much longer. But why don't we have a look at some of the other films that have come out?
Yeah, I mean, I watched one called Blood and Gold that I quite liked.
Oh, that was great. That was a bit like that other one,
Sisu.
Yeah.
Sisu,
yes,
yeah,
like Sisu. I preferred it to Sisu, to be honest.
I liked them both, but they both had a very similar tone.
Yes, it's almost like Tarantino spaghetti westerns. War film.
And I was perfectly fine with that. I enjoyed it. Okay, so films that we've had. I'm going to look at films we've had since 2010. Okay, I mean, obviously we had Band of Brothers Pacific. I won't bother mentioning it. Red Tails 2012. Ooh,
Wasn't that the last George Lucas thing?
Oh God, yeah.
Absolutely terrible movie.
Oh,
there's a really good TV movie on the same subject called The Tuscany Airmen, which is available on DVD. About the same thing. The first, black fighter pilots, World War II. Definitely worth having a movie made of that subject. Red Tails is not that movie. Terrible film. Terrible dialogue. Awful script. And then they kind of shoehorn them into Masters of the Air, and it's like, I mean, put them in the prison camp, but like, don't have it. They're not the bomber crews. You're doing a show about the bomber crews. Do a show about them. Even
that was the episode.
Rewriting of history.
That was the episode of Masters of the Air that was written by the woman who writes the scripts for Peppa Pig.
Oh God, yeah, it was terrible.
Just unbelievable. I mean, I'm sorry, but I can't see what the producers or Apple or anybody could have seen. Do you know who'd be really good for this? Who writes that Peppa Pig stuff? Yeah, she'd be really good for writing Masters of the Air.
Well, she clearly peppered someone's pig.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, on this list, I can recommend a couple of things. So, Fortress of War is a superb. I've got this on DVD. Is a superb Russian film set during the first few weeks of the Russian invasion, and it's about the fortress of Brest that held out for quite some considerable time. Big budget, loads of really great props. I don't know if they recreated the location or filmed at the actual location, but it's some Russian World War II movies are very kind of almost like a patriotic cinema show reel with very silly scenes that just kind of defy realism. This is not one of those Russian films. This is extremely well grounded. It's extremely well done. It's told primarily from a couple of kids' point of view, but it's just a really good film. Fortress Brest is the other working title you might see it as. The battle scenes in it are amazing, and very well done, and people fighting hand to hand to the death and all kinds of stuff. So but it's a good film. I highly recommend it. We also had the one set in wasn't it set in China somewhere, and it's like a whole load of Chinese soldiers in German kit holding out in this warehouse.
Oh yes,
on one side of it. Now that's a good movie. I've got it and I can't play it because I got the wrong region.
What's that called now?
I've got it in the other room on Blu-ray. It will come to you in a second. Oh, is it like it's like the 1300 or something? It's a number, isn't it?
Something like that.
The number of the guys that held out in that warehouse, and it's basically like a kind of Alamo.
It
World
really
War
is.
II era.
What an
movie.
incredible film! And of course,
Really
the thing
good.
is, the kit that they actually had that was entirely accurate. These were old World War I German leftovers that they were wearing. They
Yeah.
did actually wear those. What an incredible piece of work.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I can't remember if it's not called the 300, but it's something like that. I might have a quick.
Something? Isn't it the 900 or something? I don't know. I think we're just plucking numbers out.
Anyway, I'm going to go and look in the other room because it's bothering me now. Let me go and have a look, and you can talk about what a great film Battle Over Normandy is. Oh dear.
Battle Over Normandy.
Red Rose of Normandy, also known as shit.
What was that? What was that film with what's his name? Oh God, I can't even remember his name. The bloke that ended up in EastEnders. The geezer. That one.
Phil Mitchell?
No, that geezer.
Not Craig Fairbrass, is it?
Eh?
Not Craig Fairbrass.
No. The other Danny Dyer. That's it.
Oh, Danny Dyer. Okay.
Yeah. Was it Age of Heroes? Was it?
I just scrolled past that. It was terrible.
Yeah.
Not a good film.
Yeah.
Tried to sort of be a World War II wild geese. Just really didn't have the budget to pull it off.
Yeah. Was it something to do with the Dieppe raid or something?
No, it was set in Norway. Set in Norway.
In Norway. Oh, was it? All right.
Right. The film in question.
Yeah.
We were close. Is called The 800.
The 800. I was closest.
Okay.
I win a biscuit.
Yeah, you were closest. It's called The 800. It's worth getting. Try not to order it in the wrong region on your Blu-ray, so it will actually play. I've never been able to watch it. I mean, I have seen it, but I just haven't been able to watch my version of it. Do you know what? I had it for ages, shrink wrapped, and I didn't bother to check it. So by the time I went to play and it didn't work, it was too late for me to send it back. So, fucking annoying. I need to get a multi-region player. I used to have one, but it's broken.
Yeah.
So, there was a series of sort of low-budget World War II efforts, right, that came out. Some of them were all right. Some of them were absolutely terrible. One of the ones that was absolutely terrible was called Battle Over Normandy. It's directed by, I remember the guy, Tino Struckman, who is also the producer, the executive producer, the lead actor, the director, the writer, and whatever else. It's also called Red Rose Over Normandy. It's also been called D-Day something or other. It's been repackaged with more covers than Criticao's got spiders in his bedroom. I mean, it's an utterly rubbish film. It's
that's a lot of spiders.
they've got really good kit. They've got really good kit. They've got the Tiger from Saving Private Ryan, which was sold to an American collector, and clearly the American collector is a friend of this director. because they've got
probably financed it as well, because it looks like that kind of a film if it's got one person doing nearly everything.
It's one of those ones where basically they get a whole load of reenactors in, and they add tons of CGI that's really bad, and there's not really any proper actors in it. There might be like 3 or 4 people that can actually act. This woman was terrible, and I mean, she looks like a blow-up doll in that picture. I don't know what's going on there. But this film was really bad. I mean, it was so bad. I just thought, God, who, well, I know who wrote it because his name's all over it, but it was just really terrible. And so Helmut took him ages to come up with that name. It was bad, but they've got great kit. They've got loads of really good tanks, and it's clear that this guy, there you go, that's another one of the titles.
Oh, wow.
They had it as Normandy. When I bought it, I had this on DVD. I burnt it.
Photoshop.
That was the cover I got. That was the one I bought, and then Red Rose and Normandy. I mean, it's been re-released so many times. It's so pants. Yes, not for the not one I can recommend. There's the Pathfinder series. There are 3 of those. Have you seen any of those, Inside Man?
I've seen one.
Was it the one set in the south of France during Operation Dragoon? I think that's the second one. The first one is set during Battle of the Bulge.
It must be the second one then.
I think the third one was called Battle of the Tanks or something. It's not very good.
Right. Yeah, I didn't. It was one of those sort of. No, I don't like it. I'll just leave it on because it sounds like it's going to be okay, but no, not my cup of tea at all. I thought very amateur. I've seen better fan films. I've seen better amateur films. To be fair, and the Saints and Soldiers movies as well. I think
Saints and Soldiers was the one I was talking about. Yeah, there are 3. There are 3 of them. Not Pathfinders. There's two films.
Yeah, I saw the Pathfinder thing, and I thought that was the Saints and Soldiers, not bad.
They're a little bit. There's a bit of earnest filmmaking going on.
Yeah, that's right. They're trying to do something.
Trying to do something a bit better than crap. Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely effort there.
Yeah. But the director of those films went on to direct that movie War Pigs with Dolph Lundgren.
Oh, right.
Yeah, not worth a further mention. My Way, extremely good Korean film, very, very good. Definitely recommend that. About it's a true story of these Korean soldiers who fought for China, got captured by the Russians, got conscripted into the Russian army, got captured by the Germans, got conscripted into the German army, and ended up defending one of the bunkers on the beach in Normandy where they were taken prisoner. True story.
Sabaton needs to write a bloody song about him.
Well, they did a film about it, and it's very good, and that's My Way. I give that an 8 out of 10. The Normandy beach scenes are like, okay, you clearly haven't looked at the pictures and you're reconstructing Normandy bunkers in Korea somewhere, but with really silly towers and stuff that just wouldn't have been there. But we had the Stalingrad that came out in 2013 from Russia.
Yeah.
Quite over the top. Don't know if you guys saw that one.
No, I've not seen that one.
I've seen the 1993 Stalingrad.
That's good. That one's good.
Brilliant. Yeah.
That's the German movie. This is quite a good. This was good. So this came out in 2013. This is called Generation War. It's a German band of brothers, basically. It's 4 friends who all end up sort of doing different things in the war. The girl becomes a nurse. One of them becomes an SS officer. And one of them is, of course, Jewish. And that part of the story is quite weak. I didn't really believe it. I don't think he would have been shielded. He probably would have been turned in, with the way things were back then. But that gripe aside, it's a really, really good series. I think it's I've got it on 2 discs, DVD set. I got it as soon as it came out because I'd heard about it when it was being made. And most of the action's set on the Russian front. Those scenes are incredibly well done. There's a horrific scene where the German hospital is overrun by the Russians, and they just come into all the rooms with all the injured patients and just machine gun them all in the beds, which is basically what happened. I mean, don't get me wrong, the Germans did the same when they were advancing, and they did a lot worse,
Yeah.
But I mean, when you see it, it's like, fuck.
It's not. Yeah, it's quite unpleasant, but it's I mean, it is very good. It's very well made. I mean, I loved it. Exactly the same as you. As soon as it came out, as soon as it came out, I had to have it. It's really good. Really
I recommend it. Overall, I'd give it 8 out of 10. Really good production design. Looks good. Looks very accurate.
Is there?
How much of it is there? I think there's like 3 episodes per disc, and each episode's about an hour or an hour 20.
Yeah,
It's quite a bit, it's a sort of, it's not as big, it's not as long as Band of Brothers, but it feels epic. I mean, Schindler's List we could recommend, but that was not made after 2010.
No, certainly not. And I don't know if I can really call it a war film. I mean, if we're going to call Schindler's List a war film, I'd call
it a historical.
Yes, yeah.
Film.
Because then I'd have to recommend something like Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
Well, indeed.
Which is set obviously right at the end of the war.
Yeah.
And actually one of the only films by Taika Waititi that I actually like.
Yeah, because that was.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Them though, was he? It was someone else who was writing them. He just directed them.
Yeah, he just directed that one. He didn't write it. Yeah, it's based on a book.
Very clever film, though. That was a very clever.
Very good film.
I love it.
Yeah, really clever movie.
Yes, very good.
But if you haven't seen this, I recommend it. It's good. It's one of the few good things we got. Don't know about. I don't know what was. I'd be interested to know: are there any World War II films on the horizon? Because Paul Biddis, there must be, because Paul Biddis put out a casting call for 18 to 30-year-olds to play British paratroopers 2 weeks ago.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So that means there is something with British paratroopers being made. So
it's entirely possible that it could be one of those kind of dramatized documentaries that.
No, it was actually said in the call out. It was for a feature film.
Oh, it's for a feature, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Feature film casting. I think the commitment on it's quite a few weeks. Have you heard anything on the grapevine?
No, nothing at all. No, I haven't heard anything about any World War II projects coming up. Assuming that it is a World War II project and that it isn't, say, Falklands or something like that.
It's weird because given the anniversary, obviously, 80 years next year, I don't know. I just kind of thought there'd be more stuff on the horizon, but there just doesn't seem to be the appetite for it.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Maybe it's because you can't make that film and not DEI it in the SG it to hell. You know what I mean? It's almost a historical films are almost kind of thing that people refuse to make now because it will be just white men. I'm sorry, it's just going to be.
Yeah, I think Masters of the Air is really a prime example of exactly what you're talking about.
Well, we have.
I detest rewriting of history. I absolutely detest it.
Yeah.
No, me too. We have had a couple of other big movies in more recent times. World War II. I think it's fair to say that since Dunkirk in 1917, we have definitely had one other big epic World War II movie, kind of a throwback to the old days. Had a big star-studded cast. I thought it was good, but I thought that they made a lot of mistakes in it that undermined it being a great film. That was Midway.
Oh yeah, I never saw this. I meant to.
I went to see it at the cinema. The problem with it was, right, they had a whole big opening sequence of Pearl Harbor getting bombed and one character losing his friend. And that's all fine for setup and everything. But, you know, this is a film about the Battle of Midway. And I would like you to spend your screen time of that film about the run up to and what happens at the Battle of Midway.
Yeah.
I don't need, and there's about, before we get to the Battle of Midway, I think there's about at least 45 minutes of screen time on the other battles that took place leading up to it to give context of it's important. You could have done all of that in a scrolling billboard at the beginning of the film and said, you know, World War II is in its second year for the Americans. The Japanese have bombed Pearl Harbor, bringing America into the war. The Americans have just fought a stalemate with the Japanese Navy at the Battle of Coral Sea. They lost this, this, and this. The next, you know, the next battle will be crucial. It could be the turning point of the War of the Pacific. And then
they did something like that with Sink the Bismarck, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, it just
there's a preamble for that. I'm sure of it.
That's a good movie.
Very good film.
So what there is of the stuff on Midway is really good. It's just there's a lot of nonsense that we didn't need. I thought the visual effects on this film were absolutely outstanding. I made sure I went and saw it on the big screen.
Yeah, I meant to see this at the cinema and just didn't manage it for some reason.
Yeah, when they're dive bombing those carriers, I mean, you really felt like you were in the pilot seat. You felt like you were going down with them. You know, it was well done. I'd be quite tempted to take the original Midway film from 1976 and edit it with this.
another supercut coming.
Yeah, another supercut. I do the same with Tora and Pearl Harbor, you know. But yeah, it is a good film. I give it 7 out of 10. It's just there's a lot of time on nonsense. It could have been much more powerful if they'd narrowed the story to the.
No, I'd completely forgotten about this one, Lance. I'll queue that one up to have a watch as well.
I think the veterans were pretty happy with it. A few of them that were at the battle watched the movie, and they had a special premiere for them in Hawaii. I think the premiere was.
I think it's important to do war films in the right way because you don't want to glorify it, but you also obviously don't want to sell short the sacrifices and the bravery of those involved.
Northern, have you seen Midway? Just checking he's not fallen asleep manning the wall. Hello.
He's muted.
There we go. Yeah, no, I've not seen it, but I've not even seen the original with Charlton Heston, is it? That's in the original?
The original has got good acting, and it's a narrow focus. It is more about Midway, you know, but terrible visual effects.
Yeah. I've seen Tora, though. That's
amazing.
Very good, yeah, and it's I like the fact that it never really took side with the Americans or the Japanese. It just portrayed how as accurately as it could, and portrayed both sides.
What did people think of this?
It made me angry, Lance.
Yeah, the book is fucking brilliant, and this really demeaned what these people were going through. Yeah, they were crazy, they were violent, they were ruthless, but they were still human, and all the stuff they did still played on them.
Well, I you know what? If they hadn't have sold this film on, this is the book of the true story of these people.
Yeah.
And they had said, this is Guy Ritchie's, this is Guy Ritchie's equivalent of the Dirty Dozen, I would have been fine with it. But when you've got these nonsense scenes of two guys walking through the middle of a camp, machine gunning as they go, accurately killing each person as they move along, and then moving into a building doing the same thing, and it just sort of became a bit farcical. It all just sort of
it's so far removed from actual events that it may well have not been based on them at all. Hardly anybody died in the original operation. I can't remember the name of the operation now, but hardly anybody died. So it was a covert in and out. If they'd made that film, you could have had a really tense film, you know, but they went the action route. And as you say, if they'd not said this is based on true events, and, you know, again, it had to have a whole part of it had two halves to the film. So you had the half with the team making their infiltration, and then you had all that other stuff as well. And it's just there was no stakes, like Ryan says. There was absolutely no stakes.
That's what I thought. You never felt like they were in danger. They seemed so great at everything. It's
Machine
just there was the tension.
Yeah, because in the book there was a really good air raid as well, done at night, and 3 times Lassen sneaks in and back to finish his mission, demolishing these planes, and that would have been really good to have in this film. It would have been crazy, but
I said it all in my review.
I just think it's an absolute insult. I truly think that this is an insult, and I don't understand how the reality of it is how this pathetic adaptation, if you can call it that, is somehow better than the reality, than the real deeds of these people.
Exactly that.
Or, you know, it's unfathomable to me that the reality of it is just so extraordinary. I mean, it's so unbelievably extraordinary and brave. And
I've just got my review for it in the chat.
Yeah.
As I say, I've done some reading up on it, and I was just like, why didn't you just make the film like this?
Yeah.
You know, and you could have had a really suspenseful, covert operation film rather than what they ended up with, which was just an absolute mess where nothing mattered. And at the end, they're just going around, just machine gunning people down. There's no danger. There was nothing to it. And it was just such a shame because there was potential. And I hate seeing Cavill put his heart and soul into these projects, and they just come out to be absolute crap. You know,
I think another bad one. Sorry.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that really got me, and I'm not saying that there weren't secret agents in networks of different backgrounds and ethnicities, but they had this black secret agent, or African American, if you prefer, very much at the forefront of this operation, heavily involved and interacting with sort of Nazis on a
no one's saying shit either. It's like
I mean, they would not have given him the time of day because
they wouldn't have respected him at all, whether he ran the club or not.
Indoctrinated into them that he is of a lesser species. I'm not saying don't include those characters, absolutely do, but if you're trying to lean into the realism of this topic, which this film was sold on, it's the true story of, it wasn't sold on it's Guy Ritchie's The Dirty Dozen, you know. If it's a Dirty Dozen movie, I don't care about the history. I just want it to be a fun action film, whatever, you know, kill as many Nazis as you want. All good. I'm quite happy to see fantastic stuff and you know, maybe tanks that are of the wrong era and whatnot. But
Eliza Gonzalez was another complaint for me because she's playing a white British woman and she's like, what kind of Latin is she? And you could have had her in another role because in the book, some of the soldiers fell in love with one of the villagers who was actually Spanish, and you could have had her in one of those parts. It would have made her more relevant as well because.
I want to say I really do love this actor. I think he's a phenomenal actor. He has amazing.
He was good
actor, but he was wrong
in the film, I thought, to be honest. But
at
the same time, he's not playing a character that I can believe for 1 second, and that's the problem.
No, it all just didn't feel very believable, did it? Really. Also, you know, for the amount of times that they used their Sten guns and they didn't jam once, they must be Sten guns.
As I say, towards the end, it just got absolutely ridiculous, and you knew that nobody was going to be in the slightest bit of danger. It was Amazon all over, and I was very, very disappointed. And as I say, the film actually made me angry.
I know, and I think Guy Ritchie should have played it a little bit more straighter as well as tongue in cheek, like a bit more like he did with The Covenant, which shows you can really.
Covenant's a good film, man.
Covenant is a good film. You're right. This definitely should have been tonally more like that, but I guess somebody somewhere said let's make it fun, and that's kind of what they went for. Some people like it,
but
I mean, I found it enjoyable but instantly forgettable. As in, I had fun while I was watching it, but as soon as I finished watching it, I thought, well, that was a load of historical bollocks, and that was it, you know.
Another one that really annoyed me was Operation Mincemeat.
Oh, that was a very boring film, and just wasn't. I don't think they stuck. I don't think they stuck.
Again,
they didn't. But then didn't stick to the history, did they?
No, I mean it was such an extraordinary story, and it was just sort of for some reason they had to put in the women as being perhaps the most dominant characters, the most prominent characters in there. Penelope Wilton being one of them, and these women that were supposed to be privy to these incredibly big secrets, that they're talking about it in tea houses and tea rooms and stuff like that, as though it's nothing. But these it just really pissed me off immensely.
Yeah, I can understand that. Just not some of those depictions were not very well grounded. Kind of reminded me of this.
The pound can reach a level that will keep our exports competitive.
The lady has foolishly attempted to join the conversation with a wild and dangerous opinion of her own. What half-baked drivel!
I never get bored of that.
No.
Oh God!
I tried to keep it short so I didn't get flagged for copyright. There are some films yet to come out and currently in production or being shot. Let's have a quick look at this list before we wrap up for the night. Gone a little bit over today, but hey, it's fun, isn't it? So here's a list of stuff. I don't know why Midway's at the beginning, maybe because this list started in 2019 or something. Ghost Army, which I've never heard of, because it's in development, so who knows? But these films are all either World War I or World War II. White Mountain. This sounds interesting. An attempt to thwart the Nazi advance, British espionage officers travel to Crete to support local forces in their bloody and inventive resistance. I'd love to see a movie about Crete. I did a Paratrooper episode about Crete. It's available on Amazon. It's in the same book as the Arnhem episode, so you can read those. They're available online. Mayday 109. Inside man's bedroom is under attack.
Yeah.
No, that's not what it says. No information, but again, in development. So we've got Across the River and Into the Trees. Now, this has come out. Set in post-World War II Italian Venice, Army Colonel Richard Cantwell is a true hero who faces the news of his illness with indifference. Okay, so this is basically a romantic, non-actiony historical thing, but it has got Liev Schreiber in it. He's amazing. I think he's such a good actor. He's in this nonsense thing on Netflix with plastic surgery lady, Nicole Kidman. And,
is it one of those rich white people?
Yeah, rich white people murder people, and they've got a poor person in their midst, and I can't, to be honest, I can't stand it. But he's one of the few things in it that makes it watchable. I always like watching Liev Schreiber in anything. You might remember he was in Defiance. He was one of the brothers in Defiance, which was a great.
I mean, apart from Hugh Jackman,
I don't remember him in Fury. I don't think he was in Fury.
No, he wasn't.
He wasn't. Okay.
No,
but apart from Hugh Jackman, he was one of the only good things in X-Men Origins Wolverine as well.
Absolutely, yeah. That was an awful film.
We've got a World War I movie about black soldiers coming, by the looks of it, I think.
Okay.
And they were.
Oh no! This is the one with the black ladies that were mostly post.
No. That's not Harlem Hellfighters. I've had one of the cast of that on my channel. That is about it's about the black female postal workers. I think that film is actually going to be quite good. Forget the name of it, but it's the number. It's the number of the number of their unit, the 339 or something like that. I think it looks like it's quite a good film. I've seen the trailer, and she's the girl who was in it, who I interviewed, Milana Jackson, an amazingly talented actress. She said she's going to try and get some of the other cast to come on the channel as a kind of group.
Cool.
When the film comes out, we'll see if it happens. But if she's still willing, I'd love that to happen. So this
Harlem Hellfighters is something different then.
This is that'd be a different thing. It's World War One. So this is Road to Defiance. 2 Scottish soldiers are stranded in German occupied territory and decide a bold plan to get out of trouble, swap their uniforms for civvies and set off for British lines. However, they've not gone very far before it all goes Pete Tong. I was expecting to read before they dislike of each other flares into open conflict. And they tumble down.
Say it's not so.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. That sounds a bit basic, but okay. Sounds like a two-hander. We've got the 442nd. I don't know what that's about. But there's quite a few things in development. So there's that doesn't mean that they're going to get made. Ruin film follows a nameless ex-Nazi captain who navigates the ruins. Oh, there's that one called The Captain. That was a good film. The Jewish guy who pretends to be an SS officer in the last few weeks of World War II. That's a good little film. Atlantic Wall. So that's a D-Day thing then. No information. I'd like to know what that's about. That's a Saving Private Ryan type thing. Guns of August will be a World War One movie, probably based on the book. Flags over Berlin, intelligence operations, the Grand Escape. Oh my God! Look, Dirty Dozen remake with David Ayer, director of Fury. So that's in development. Oh, we had Greyhound in 2020. That was a good movie. I like that. I quite liked it. You know, a little bit silly in places, but overall, I thought it was a good movie with Tom Hanks. Anyone like that one?
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Apple TV. That's
it wasn't bad. Yeah.
You not seen it, Al?
No, I've not seen that. No.
Well, like the Greyhound. If you sail the high seas, I'm sure you'll find it.
Yes, yeah, I can find it. I'll have a look.
It's
I was thinking the surprise these days with the focus on diversity and ladies and everything. They've done a film on the Night Witches because that'd be quite good.
Look, there's my film in the list. Pegasus Bridge in development. Yeah, development hell, more like. That's my film.
More like development limbo.
Well,
God knows yeah. I hope it goes. I hope you do make it one day, but
I don't know, man. We'll see. There's other films that I've written since that I'd rather make first now. Dynamo, which again is a Dunkirk thing. A couple of other things here. Anyway, so there are a few things yet to come out. True Valor. What's that? And that's a paratrooper thing. So that could be the thing that Paul Biddis is working on, maybe.
Probably nothing that's going to make it into theatres, though, by the looks of things, though, apart from maybe the David Ayer film.
If indeed that happens, it's just, again, it's listed in development, but he's obviously...
Yeah, it sounds like one of those things that they've just bought the rights for, if you know what I mean. They're just placeholding it.
Well, he's attached himself because it wouldn't be up there. Ryan Randall asks, is your Shield thing going to be a weekly thing? Yes, it is. Every Sunday, 2 episodes we're going to be covering. I've actually just finished watching episode 8 of season 1 today because I can't stop watching it because it's so good. This is the 5th time I've watched the whole thing. So, Northern, do you want to plug anything you got coming up?
Yeah, me and Critical and Inside Man will be doing The Nice Guys this Friday at 7 o'clock. And as for videos, I'm working on something. I'm just getting a few done for Halloween, and I may try and do a rewatch of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place as well to be recorded and scheduled for a later date.
Okay. Well, tomorrow I have my next industry interview. This is with independent British writer, director, producer Jamal Richards. And as you know, I like to support independent creatives. That is what the channel's main focus is. So Jamal Richards has made a 3-part web series called Burning Hands, which is all about a Muslim teacher in a London school, and then also tackles narratives including people being turned to terrorism and stuff like that. Quite a controversial piece. However, the piece was embraced by the Muslim community. So if you watch, every episode of it has got over 1 million views. And this is just a 3-part, 30-minute web series with a nothing budget. So I'm going to be talking to him tomorrow to find out how he got that audience together on something that's so controversial, where people's opinions are normally really divided, and how this community managed to unite behind this project. There's also a couple of my friends are in it, actually. So one of them might be joining me as well. So I may have Jamal plus a member of the cast tomorrow. And then on Sunday, as I've just been reminded, of course, we are doing the Shield this time. Now, I forgot last time that we were doing Battle of Britain. We are doing the Shield. I'll play us out to that in just a second. So yeah, really looking forward to doing that. Inside Man, you're on that with me, right?
Yeah, can't wait. Really can't wait.
Yeah, I think you've just been watching the show for the first time. Is that right?
Yeah, first time for me, and I've got to say, I'm really impressed. I love it.
I knew you would. There's no one I've turned on to that series that hasn't liked it. So
it's some very, very good TV.
It's very in your face, man.
It really is.
Face. I think we've got Darth Plato's going to be joining us, and I think one or two others. Definitely need a couple of Americans in there so we can tackle those things. But yeah, it's got one of the best pilot episodes I've ever seen in a TV show. So that's going to be on Sunday at 8 o'clock. I might do a gaming stream or two between now and then, but probably nothing else. Al, was there anything you wanted to plug quickly?
I've got loads of stuff in the pipeline, as always. I'll be doing a review of Speak No Evil, the remake, which sadly wasn't as good as the Danish version. I've got a video.
No, that Danish film is fucking horrifying.
Yeah, it's nowhere near as bleak as that. It's got a very Hollywood ending. Let's just put it that way. The third act's completely different, which is a shame. I've got a video on. I saw Rogue One at the cinema at the weekend.
Oh,
and that reminded me of what we lost when it comes to Star Wars. So there'll be a video on that, and I'll be doing a video on free speech as well, because I think that's very important. Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech is very important. Right. Well, don't forget, I am however many subs away it is from 4K.
Did you grab a few more today?
I don't know. Let me check quickly while we're still on air. Sorry, it's 1:45. I know everyone needs to get to bed. I have now got, let's have a look. Yes, I have had some more. I'm 138 away from.
Outstanding.
Yeah, so I was 149 away. So I've had another 11 subs. Thank you very much to those people. That's fantastic. So hopefully I will hit 4K within the next week or so.
You can do a nice big celebration stream.
I will be doing that. It will probably be on a Sunday, but I've got quite a few raids planned for the next few Saturdays. So that means Sunday would not be a good day for me to do a long 4K celebration stream. I might actually do it on a Monday night, because those are free for me as well. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks to my panel for taking part in this special Operation Market Garden, primarily, apart from the last 45 minutes or so episode to honor the anniversary of the battle, or the beginning of the battle. Thanks to everyone in chat for your comments and things, and keep those coming. Don't forget to share the love about the channel. Really do appreciate your continued support. Means a huge amount to me going forwards. And as soon as I can hit 4K, 5 is only a short distance away, and once you hit 5K, you're in the top. I can't remember if it's the top 5% or the top 10% of YouTube channels.
Really?
Yeah, it's either 5 or 10% once you get over.
That's crazy, man.
I think it might be you're in the top 10% when you get over 5K, and then when you get over 10, you might be you're in the top 5. I can't remember.
Gotcha. Okay.
So not many people last that long. They kind of give up,
Yeah, no, I can see that. The algorithm can be absolutely brutal at times.
You've got to love it. You've got to love it to do this. It's thinking about it.
You got to put the work in. You do. It's
and you've got to love it. You've got to love what you do. And I do love talking about movies and TV shows, especially the good ones. I like to focus on the good stuff mainly. Although occasionally we will have to talk about films like The Last Drop. Right, that's it from us. Thanks very much for all your comments and stuff. and keep that love coming. Don't forget, I'm on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, so do come and support the stream. And with that, we'll remind you of what's coming on Sunday.
I'm a different kind of cop. We knock down the doors other cops don't want to. Taking fire from every scumbag in town.
They didn't earn it. I don't feel bad about taking it.
All about bringing force down on the street. Why don't y'all take a look at what you got going on under your own roof?
I never put the money above us.
How long you think that's gonna last?
I don't want Vic in our lives anymore.
You're investigating me? Vic Mackey beats suspects and deals drugs. And that's just all in one day. I wonder what he's gonna do tomorrow. Everybody down!
Hey, my day's just getting started.